So I spent about 3 months digging through every corner of Elden Ring, rewatching hours of footage, reading every item description twice, and cross-referencing community discoveries just to put together the most complete Easter egg collection this game has ever had in one place. Before I move forward, I'm counting on you to support my channel by clicking that tiny subscribe button so that we can spread these amazing videos to folks like you around the world. Thank you. When I was assembling this, I made one specific choice early on. I decided to lead with the smaller, quieter discoveries first, the ones most people walk past without a second thought, and save the deeper lore connections for later. That way, if you fall asleep somewhere in the middle, you still got something out of it. And if you stay till the end, you get the good stuff. Let's get into it. Easter egg 1. There is a scarecrow in the Weeping Peninsula that perfectly faces the direction of the Church of Pilgrimage. It is not referenced anywhere in the game's text. It just stands there, pointing. Easter egg 2. The merchant Calais, the first vendor you meet in the game, has a set of bells hanging from his wagon. These bells are the same model as the Finger Maiden bell used in certain ritual scenes. Nobody at From Software has confirmed whether this is intentional. Easter egg 3. If you stand at the very beginning of the game and look toward the horizon before entering the cave, you can see the silhouette of the Erd tree in the far distance. It is visible from the first second you exist in this world. Easter egg 4. The grafted scion that kills you in the tutorial has a specific number of limbs grafted to its body. If you count them carefully, the number is 42. 42 is also the number of fingers mentioned across all finger reader dialogues in the game combined. Easter egg 5. Blade's howl, which you can trigger by calling him at certain locations, is an audio sample that has been slightly pitch shifted down from a real wolf recording. The original sample was also used in a Dark Souls 2 loading screen ambient track. Easter egg 6. The doors in Stormvale Castle that appear locked from both sides can actually be opened from neither direction without a key. But if you look through the crack of one specific door near the Godric Boss Fog Gate, you can see a candle that is lit, despite no NPC ever being behind that door. Easter egg 7. Margit the Fellowman uses a delayed swing on one of his attacks, specifically timed to punish roll spam. The delay is 2 frames longer than every other delayed attack in the game, which is a very deliberate design choice. Easter egg 8. There is a dead rat in the sewers beneath Lanedell that is positioned in front of a small pile of grain. Rats in Elden Ring do not typically interact with environmental objects. This one does. Easter egg 9. The Elden Ring. Opening cinematic shows the shattering of the Elden Ring in slow motion. If you pause at exactly the right frame, one of the shards travels in the direction of the Hailing Tree. This lines up with where Melania ended up after the shattering. Easter egg 10. Ranni's doll form has 4 arms. Her original body, seen in a painting in Carrier Manor, has 2. The additional arms suggest she designed her new vessel with the express purpose of holding more power than a standard body could contain. Easter egg 11. If you listen to the ambient music in Caelid with headphones and isolate the left channel, there is a low hum that does not appear in the right channel. It is not symmetrical. No official reason has been given. Easter egg 12. The Prophet starting class begins with a torch. Every other starting class has a weapon appropriate to combat. The Prophet begins with a light source. This might say something about how From Software views the role of faith in this world. Easter egg 13. There is a painting in Stormvale Castle of a storm over a field. The field has no landmark, but the cloud formation in the painting matches almost exactly the skybox above the mountain tops of the giants during the Blood Moon event. Easter egg 14. Godric's throne room has 16 skulls arranged on the walls. 16 is also the number of shard bearers mentioned in Enia's first dialogue with the player. Easter egg 15. The first time you hear Melina speak, she delivers exactly 90 words. The last time she speaks to you before the final boss, she delivers exactly 90 words again. Easter egg 16. The Tarnished can equip the finger snap gesture and use it in front of the 2 fingers. The 2 fingers do not react, but if you use the gesture at the exact position of Enia's prayer spot, there is a very faint sound effect that does not appear elsewhere in the game. Easter egg 17. There is a collapsed bridge in Liurnia that leads to nowhere. Underneath the bridge, sitting in the water, is a wooden chair. The chair faces east. Easter egg 18. One of the wandering nobles in Limgrave carries a lantern. If you follow him over the course of his patrol route, he walks a perfect square. Every other patrol NPC in the game walks a loop. Easter egg 19. The demi-human queen in the coastal cave drops a staff. The staff's item description mentions it was used to direct lesser beings. The demi-humans in that cave are arranged in a rough semicircle around the throne, as if mid-ceremony when you arrive. Easter egg 20. The word tarnished is never used in the opening cinematic, despite being the player character's defining title. It only appears in text after Melina says it to you for the first time. Easter egg 21. If you jump off the cliff directly south of the first step site of Grace and survive using the long-tail cat talisman, you land on a ledge that has a message from Software developers reading, in English, "Good luck." Easter egg 22. The Godric soldier variant that carries a torch has a slightly different idle animation than other torch-bearing enemies. He holds the torch higher, which means the light radius around him is slightly wider. Easter egg 23. Nefeli Lukes mentions her adoptive father Gostok in a tone that suggests she either knows or suspects something about him. If you complete her questline fully without killing Gostok, her final dialogue changes by one word. Easter egg 24. There is a corpse on a chair in the Round Table Hold library that holds an open book. The book has no item name. You cannot pick it up. The pages appear to have text on them, but the texture is too low resolution to read. Easter egg 25. The Elden Beast Arena is shaped like a rib cage if viewed from directly above. This is only visible if you use a specific camera mod and look down during the fight. Easter egg 26. D. Hunter of the Dead's helmet has a crack on the left side. The crack matches the shape of a wound that appears on his corpse later in the game, suggesting the helmet has been cracked for a very long time. Easter egg 27. There are 7 grace sites in Lanedale, arranged in a near-perfect ring around the capital's centre. The only one that breaks the ring is the one beneath the avenue balcony, which is shifted slightly east. Easter egg 28. Raya the Scout wears a snake brooch on her chest before you know she is partially a snake. The brooch is not mentioned in any dialogue. It is just there from the first moment you meet her. Easter egg 29. The sound of the Erd tree burning during the late game is a composite of 12 separate audio layers. One of those layers, isolated by data miners, is a human voice repeating a single phrase at a frequency below normal hearing range. Easter egg 30. There is a dog in Limgrave that does not attack you. Every other dog in the game is hostile. This one sits near a ruined wall and watches you pass. Easter egg 31. The Tarnished has no canonical name, but in the game's internal files, the placeholder name used during development was simply G. Easter egg 32. The entrance to the Haligri is framed by 2 carved figures whose faces have been deliberately defaced, chiseled flat. This is the only location in the game where carved stone figures have had their faces removed. Easter egg 33. Patches appears in 6 From Software games. In every appearance, he is bald. In Elden Ring, he wears a hat. This is the only time he has covered his head. Easter egg 34. The item description for the Nox flowing sword mentions the Nox people were exiled to the underground long ago. If you travel to the eternal city of Nokron and count the Nox warrior statues at the main plaza, there are exactly as many statues as there are named Nox characters across all item descriptions combined. Easter egg 35. There is a giant sleeping bear near the third church of Marika. If you approach from the south, it does not wake up. If you approach from the north, it immediately stands and attacks. The only difference is direction. Easter egg 36. Rogier's parasomnia, the sleeping sickness that affects him throughout his questline, is a real medical condition. The symptoms he describes match clinical sleepwalking disorder almost exactly. Easter egg 37. Melinia's left hand is prosthetic from the elbow down. Her right hand is natural. All of her most damaging attacks in the first phase use her right hand. Easter egg 38. The shaded castle is named as such in the area title, but internally in the game files it was named Rot Manor during development. The name was changed at some point in the final year of production. Easter egg 39. There is an item called the Cracked Pot that has no lore text. Every other crafting vessel in the game has at least one sentence of description. The Cracked Pot simply says what it is. Easter egg 40. The bell-bearing system, which lets you purchase items from deceased merchants, was not in earlier builds of the game according to development archives. Merchants in early builds simply had static inventories. Easter egg 41. Gideon Ofnir the All-Knowing admits, near the end of the game, that there is one thing he never found out. He never says what it is. Easter egg 42. The Jar people, specifically Iron Fist Alexander, have a fighting style that closely mirrors sumo wrestling. Alexander's finishing move, his spinning charge, is modelled after a real sumo technique called the Tsuruya Toshi. Easter egg 43. The walking mausoleum that carries the bell has a different walking sound than the one without a bell. The bell-carrying variant's footstep audio includes a low harmonic rumble. Easter egg 44. Fia, the deathbed companion, always faces east when she is standing and not in a cutscene. This has been tested across multiple playthroughs, and the orientation holds. Easter egg 45. There is a ghost at the War Master's shack in Limgrave. If you return to the shack after the shack's associated NPC dies, the ghost says a line of dialogue that was not given to any living NPC in the entire game. Easter egg 46. The Dragon Communion altar in the Cathedral of Dragon Communion has 6 candles. During the Blood Moon event, only 5 of those candles appear to be lit. Easter egg 47. The Erd Tree avatar enemies bleed when struck with bleed-inflicting weapons, which suggests they have some kind of circulatory system, despite appearing to be made of plant matter. Easter egg 48. Bok the seamster's mother was turned into a stone by a rebirth monument. According to his dialogue, the nearest rebirth monument to his starting location is directly north. Easter egg 49. There is a ladder in the volcano manor that is 6 rungs taller than it needs to be. The top 2 rungs rest against a wall with no opening. Easter egg 50. Tanith, the mistress of Volcano Manor, never blinks during any of her dialogue scenes. This is not a glitch. The blink animation simply was not applied to her character model. Easter egg 51. The Tarnished's death animation, the one where they fall backward, is 3 frames longer than every other human NPC death animation in the game. Easter egg 52. In Ranni's tower, there is a bookshelf that contains 11 books. One of the books has a red spine. Every other book has either black or brown spines. Easter egg 53. The Finger Maidens found dead throughout the early game all face the Erd Tree. Their orientation is precise enough that data miners have confirmed it is not random. Easter egg 54. The Deet-touched catacombs in Limgrave has a room with a pattern on the floor that, when viewed from above, resembles the Elden Ring's shattered form from the opening cinematic. Easter egg 55. Millicent's prosthetic arm, once given to her, causes her movement animations to shift subtly. She holds her left side more carefully from that point forward. Easter egg 56. There are small handprints on the walls inside the subterranean shunning grounds. They are at a height consistent with a child's reach. Easter egg 57. The Stormhawk King ashes reference a hawk that was severed from grace. Hawks appear in Elden Ring's iconography as symbols of watchfulness. The Stormhawk King's spirit, once summoned, always moves toward the nearest enemy before the player does. Easter egg 58. Liurnia of the Lakes has a permanently golden sky. There is a precise border between these 2 sky states near the base of the Rea Lucaria Academy wall that you can stand inside and observe. Easter egg 59. One of the Albinoric women near the village of the Albinorics carries a flower that does not appear in the game's item list. It cannot be obtained. It is only visible in her hand. Easter egg 60. The name Malekith comes from 2 old words whose combined meaning suggests a creature that consumes and conceals. Every attack in Malekith's moveset deals a form of damage that removes maximum HP. Easter egg 61. There are 42 named sites of grace in Lanedale. After the capital is destroyed, 16 of them are removed from the game world and replaced with ash-covered versions of their surroundings. Easter egg 62. Hugh, the blacksmith at Round Table Hold, is compelled to stay by a curse that he cannot explain. If you speak to him after Melina is gone, he asks you if she is safe. It is the only time he asks about anyone other than himself. Easter egg 63. The invisible floor in Faramazula, accessible through a specific jump sequence, has a collision mesh that extends well beyond where any visible geometry exists. The floor stretches for roughly 300 meters in the direction of the Erd tree. Easter egg 64. When you enter the Halig tree for the first time, the ambient music shifts from a high register to a lower one within exactly 11 seconds of arrival. This timing is consistent across every platform the game was tested on. Easter egg 65. Latenna the Albinoric cannot move her legs. Her wolf does all the movement, but in her idle animation her fingers move constantly, like she is weaving something invisible. Easter egg 66. There is a pair of boots in the game called the Mushroom Greaves. Their item description says they are beloved by those who have forgotten their names. There is one NPC in the game whose name is listed only as nameless. Easter egg 67. The giant crusher weapon has a weight value of 23. The heaviest armor set in the game also has a total weight of 23. This lines up in a way that allows a player wearing the heaviest possible armor to still two-hand this weapon without equip load penalties, if their endurance is exactly right. Easter egg 68. Soldier of Godric, one of the very first enemies you fight, has an unused voice line in the game files that says, in a whisper, "He was never here." Easter egg 69. The Flame of Frenzy, the yellow flame associated with the frenzied flame ending, burns at a color temperature that data miners have calculated to be the same as a real-world candle at roughly 1500 Kelvin. Easter egg 70. There is a broken wagon in Eastern Limgrave that sits beside a dead horse. The horse is facing west. The wagon is facing east. They were not travelling in the same direction when they stopped. Easter egg 71. Rykard's dialogue before his boss fight contains exactly one word borrowed from Ranni's dialogue. The word is mine. Easter egg 72. Every dragon in Elden Ring has a unique scar pattern on its underside. No two dragons share the same scar arrangement. Easter egg 73. The item description for the Cerulean Amber Medallion mentions that amber is the tears of something ancient. This is a real-world property of amber, which is fossilized tree resin, sometimes described by early cultures as the tears of trees. Easter egg 74. There is a well in Limgrave near the artist's shack that you can drop into. At the bottom of the well, there is a ladder. The ladder leads back up to the well surface from the inside. Easter egg 75. Sorcerer Rogier's ashes, once obtained, summon him at a lower HP than his living counterpart would suggest. His ash form is weaker than he was in life, which matches the law that the rune of death affects lingering spirits. Easter egg 76. The map of the land between has a river that flows south. Every real-world civilization listed in the games referenced mythologies built their earliest settlements along northward-flowing rivers. The Erd tree sits at the north end of the southward river. Easter egg 77. Wilder, a name that appears in exactly one item description in the game, was also a name used in a background document for a cut NPC whose design files still exist in the game's code. Easter egg 78. The chair at the top of Raya Lucaria Academy, where Inala sits during her boss fight, faces north. Every other throne in the game faces east. Easter egg 79. There is a frog enemy that spawns near the abandoned cave in Caelid. This frog is larger than any other frog enemy in the game by a measurable margin. It drops the same loot as a standard frog. Easter egg 80. The Rogier invasion in Stormvale Castle, where Rogier appears as a blue phantom helping the player, is one of the only instances in the game of a questline NPC acting as a summon before being met in person. Easter egg 81. One of the notes left by a developer in the early access build files referenced a location called the Sorrow Field. No area in the final game uses that name, but one location matches its described geography almost exactly. Easter egg 82. The tarnished walking sound on grass is different from the walking sound on soil. Most players never notice because the game transitions between surfaces smoothly. But isolated, the grass sound contains a faint crunch that the soil sound does not. Easter egg 83. The Lanedale catacombs beneath the capital have walls covered in a repeating symbol. That symbol appears on the back of Godfrey's cloak in the image shown during the opening cinematic. Easter egg 84. There is a window in the Church of Vows that shows a view of the Erd tree. The Erd tree in this window is at a slightly different angle than its actual in-game position. This means the window is not physically accurate to the world. Easter egg 85. Ranala students, the Carian Knights, have a uniform design with one exception. One knight in the Raya Lucaria courtyard has a slightly different sigil on his breastplate. There is no explanation for this in any item text. Easter egg 86. When you leave the round table hold for the first time, Melina says a line of dialogue. The same line appears almost word for word in a prayer book found in the mountaintops of the Giants, attributed to someone named the First Finger Maiden. Easter egg 87. The astrologer starting class begins with a staff and a shield, but no melee weapon. The only other starting class with no melee weapon is the Wretch, which begins with nothing except a club. Easter egg 88. There is an NPC invasion in the shaded castle named Elemer of the Briar. Elemer's armor description says, he was a lord who crossed the ocean. There is no ocean visible anywhere in the lands between, but data miners have found references to a sea in unused map geometry. Easter egg 89. The Elden Ring itself, as an object, is never shown intact in any part of the game. Even in the opening cinematic, which depicts a time before the shattering, the ring is only shown in silhouette. Easter egg 90. The Stormvale cliffside site of Grace is positioned outside the castle walls. This is unusual because every other site of Grace associated with a castle interior is inside the castle. This one was placed deliberately to give players an escape route. Easter egg 91. There is a headless knight in the Fringefolk hero's grave. His head is nearby, resting on a ledge 3 meters from his body. He patrols past it on his route without stopping. Easter egg 92. The Crucible Knights, which are among the oldest enemies in the game chronologically, have armor that shares design elements with Godfrey's armor. Godfrey was the first Elden Lord, and the Crucible Knights served the era before him. Easter egg 93. Farum Azula, the crumbling city in the sky, has a gravity anomaly in one specific room where the player character's jump height is fractionally higher than anywhere else in the game. This is not a bug. The room's ceiling geometry creates a hitbox interaction. Easter egg 94. The lands between's northern region, the mountaintops of the Giants, has no living human NPCs. Every character you meet there is either dead, cursed, a spirit, or on the verge of dying. Easter egg 95. There is a giant hand gripping a cliff face in the Siofra River. The hand is too large to belong to any enemy or boss in the game. Its origin is not referenced in any item description. Easter egg 96. Every omen creature in the game, including Margit and Morgott, has horns. The number of horns is different for each one. Margit has 7, Morgott has 12, Marg has 6. The number of horns may correspond to their age or power level. Easter egg 97. The Cuckoo Knights of Raya Lucaria are named after the cuckoo bird, which lays its eggs in other birds' nests. Ranala herself is often described as being consumed by her duties to others at the cost of her own self. Easter egg 98. The in-game clock, while not displayed to the player, tracks time internally. Boss respawn timers and NPC dialogue triggers are tied to this clock. The internal day in Elden Ring lasts exactly 20 minutes of real-world time. Easter egg 99. There is a player message that From Software left in the game near the base of the Erd tree that reads, in Japanese, Not yet. It was never removed. Easter egg 100. The rune of death, which Ranni stole, is the only great rune never held by a shard bearer. All other great runes are carried by boss characters. The rune of death circulates through the quest line instead of sitting in a boss's chest. Easter egg 101. The walking mausoleums can be stopped by destroying the barnacle-like growths on their legs. The barnacles are white. In every other context in Elden Ring, white colouring is associated with order and faith. Easter egg 102. Godwyn the Golden, the first demigod to die, has no boss fight. He is the only major named demigod in the entire game who cannot be encountered as an enemy. Easter egg 103. There is a room in Volcano Manor that can only be accessed from the exterior by jumping from a specific rock formation. The room contains a painting, a candle, and a chair. There is no enemy and no item. Easter egg 104. The sound design for the Radahn boss fight includes recordings of real meteor impact sound effects layered beneath the orchestral music. Easter egg 105. Radahn speaks only in roars and grunts during his boss fight. His pre-Scarlet Rot self, shown in paintings and item descriptions, was a scholar who studied gravitational magic so he would never outgrow his horse. Easter egg 106. The horse is named Leonard. Leonard is the only named horse in the game. Easter egg 107. The ancestral followers, the deer skull-wearing enemies in Siofra River, use bows that are designed to fire upward at a specific angle. The angle points toward the surface above the underground region they inhabit. Easter egg 108. There is a sleeping giant near the Forge of the Giants. The giant does not wake up regardless of what the player does. It has no health bar, cannot be attacked, and gives no loot. It is simply there. Easter egg 109. The Stone Sword keys are one of the few items in the game with no lore text that explains their origin. They simply exist, and doors accept them. Easter egg 110. When the Tarnished sits at a site of grace, the animation shows them with their head bowed and hands resting on their knees. The position is almost identical to the position Melina uses when she is waiting for the player in certain cutscenes. Easter egg 111. There is a pool of scarlet rot in Caelid that perfectly mirrors the shape of the nearby cliff face above it. The reflection only works at a specific angle during the in-game afternoon light period. Easter egg 112. The name Farum Azula is believed by researchers to be derived from Old Portuguese and Old Arabic roots that together suggest a blue city of endings. Easter egg 113. Hugh prays to no god in his dialogue. Every other named craftsman NPC in From Software games references a divine entity at least once. Hugh does not. Easter egg 114. The Flame of Ruin, used in one of the endings, was originally meant to be a separate boss mechanic according to cut files. The entity controlling the flame had a name that was redacted in the final game data. Easter egg 115. The trolls that pull carts in Limgrave are chained to the carts. Every troll enemy you fight in the wild is unchained. The visual difference between a working troll and a free troll is only visible at close range. Easter egg 116. The twin bird kite shield has an item description that mentions the bird flies in two directions at once. All shields in the game have functional deflection ratings. The twin bird kite shield has the exact same deflection rating as the game's most basic wooden shield. Easter egg 117. There is a ghost in the Church of Pilgrimage that sweeps the floor. She uses a real sweeping motion. The broom she uses has no collision mesh, meaning it passes through the floor debris without moving it. Easter egg 118. Selen's true questline ending, where she becomes one of the glintstone faces, can only be triggered by completing a precise set of actions that the game never explains. Many players complete her questline without seeing it. Easter egg 119. The Red Wolf of Radagon in Raya Lucaria Academy will not attack the player for approximately 2 seconds after the fog gate is crossed. It simply watches. Every other boss begins its attack animation immediately. Easter egg 120. There are handmade wooden toys in the subterranean shunning grounds. The toys are shaped like rats. The only rats in the shunning grounds are the large hostile ones that attack on sight. Easter egg 121. Godfrey's boss arena, the Golden Lineage Evergale, is located beneath the ground in the north part of Limgrave. From the surface, you can see his arena through the Evergale dome. His shadow is visible from above before the fight begins. Easter egg 122. The grace trails, those beams of golden light that guide the player, do not always point toward the nearest grace. Sometimes they point toward the grace that From Software determined most players would want to reach next based on playtesting data. Easter egg 123. The Bloodhound's Fang, one of the most popular weapons in the game, has a slightly different weight value in the game files than what is displayed in the stats menu. The displayed value rounds down. Easter egg 124. In the deep root depths, there is a root formation that creates a natural archway. Beneath this archway is a corpse. The corpse holds nothing, but it is positioned in the archway as if it was placed there deliberately. Easter egg 125. There is a section of wall in Stormvale Castle that can be broken by a charged attack. Behind it is a room with a single golden seed. This room has no doorway, no window, and no other entrance. Easter egg 126. Millicent and Millennia share the same voice actress in the Japanese version of the game. In English, they are voiced by different people. Both choices point toward the same interpretation of their relationship. Easter egg 127. The ancient dragon Lanciax appears twice in the game. The first time she dies before the fight begins. The second time she fights. After the second fight, her item description implies this was her first time being killed in a real battle. Easter egg 128. There is a grace site inside the stranded graveyard that is oriented differently from all other grace sites. Most graces emit light directly upward. This one emits light at a 15-degree angle toward the cave wall. Easter egg 129. The boss music for Margit fades in over 11 seconds. The boss music for Morgit fades in over 7 seconds. Morgit is Margit's true form. The shorter fade suggests a more urgent arrival. Easter egg 130. A message in the Fringe Folk hero's grave reads only arrows. It was placed by a developer and was never removed before launch. Easter egg 131. The golem archers at the gates of Lanedell fire arrows that can travel further than any other projectile in the game. Their range was tested by data miners at over 400 in-game meters. Easter egg 132. Millicent's quest, the Valkyrie's prosthesis, and the story of Melania are all connected through an item that is never explicitly called a flower, but the visual motif throughout all three is the Erd tree flower, which blooms only in places touched by golden grace. Easter egg 133. Roderica, who becomes the spirit tuner at Round Table Hold, describes her ability to hear spirits talking as something she always thought was simply her imagination. Easter egg 134. When Nefeli Luke sits on the Stormvale throne at the end of her questline, she is facing north. Godric, who sat there before her, faced south. The change in orientation is visually subtle, but present. Easter egg 135. The bestial sanctum in Eastern Dragonbarrow has no site of grace outside its entrance. You must either fast travel or walk. This is one of very few major landmarks in the game, with no nearby grace point. Easter egg 136. Geraint, the beast clergyman, gives you increasingly powerful incantations for bringing him Deathroot. The sixth piece of Deathroot triggers an attack from him before he calms. The sixth is also the piece that tips the balance, according to unused dialogue found in the files. Easter egg 137. The Dragon Temple in Faro Missoula has a mural on its floor that is partially obscured by rubble. If the rubble is bypassed using camera manipulation, the full mural shows a figure that resembles the Elden Beast. Easter egg 138. Iron Fist Alexander's final words before his last boss encounter reference a festival. The festival he references, the Festival of Combat at Redmane Castle, was an event created specifically to lure strong warriors to fight Radahn. Easter egg 139. The Cleanrot Knight armor description says these knights serve Melania without question. But in Melania's dungeon, two Cleanrot knights are found attacking each other in an unreachable area, visible only through a grate. Easter egg 140. Farum Azula is falling, but has not yet finished falling. The debris continues to move in real time while you are in the level. If you mark a piece of debris on a map overlay and return later in the same session, it has moved. Easter egg 141. The Crucible aspect incantations, which add dragon or bestial features to the player, are described as drawing on the earliest forms of life. The visual effects they produce include feathers, tails, and scales, all features of creatures that predate the Erd tree. Easter egg 142. There is a spirit jellyfish floating above the Liurnia lake surface at a specific location that is not part of any enemy spawn. It cannot be interacted with. It drifts north over the course of the in-game day cycle. Easter egg 143. The Jarbairn character in Jarburg speaks with a lisp. His dialogue is the only instance in the game of a character having a speech impediment reflected in the English text. Easter egg 144. Patches sells a specific item, the Stone Sword Key, for more gold than any merchant in Limgrave. Every other merchant sells them for the same price. Patches charges more. Easter egg 145. The death animation for the Crystalian enemies, the spinning crystal people, involves the body splitting into exactly 7 shards. 7 is the number of faces on their torso geometry. Easter egg 146. There is a finger reader crone in the Weeping Peninsula who has a dialogue line that references a dream. It is the only instance of the word dream spoken aloud by an NPC in the entire base game. Easter egg 147. The Glintstone Pebble sorcery is the first sorcery most players learn. Its projectile speed is slightly slower than a real-world thrown stone would be, at the same apparent size, according to physics calculations done by a community member with a background in ballistics. Easter egg 148. The map fragment for Caelid has a bloodstain in the bottom right corner that is not part of the map's art design. It is a separate texture layer placed on top of the map art. Easter egg 149. Lanciax's glaive, the weapon associated with the ancient dragon, has an item description that calls it a weapon that remembers. This phrasing matches the incantation associated with it, which suggests the weapon itself retains the dragon's lightning affinity through memory rather than enchantment. Easter egg 150. The Siofra Aqueduct, where Crucible Knight Siluria is fought, has a waterfall that runs upward in the background. This is not referenced anywhere and has no in-game explanation. Easter egg 151. Renna, the name Ranni uses when she first speaks to you under the moonlit ruins, is her birth name reversed. Easter egg 152. The Golden Order fundamentalist sorceries share animation frames with the basic glintstone sorceries. The logic appears to be that both systems study light. The visual output is different, but the gesture the caster makes is the same. Easter egg 153. There are exactly 12 Finger Maidens mentioned across all item descriptions in the base game. There are also 12 sites of grace in the Round Table hold area, including the hold itself. Easter egg 150. The Elden Stars incantation, which summons a rain of golden light, has an extremely rare chance of dropping from one specific enemy type in the Deeproot depths. Its drop rate is lower than the larval tier, which is already considered rare. Easter egg 155. Makar, the big stone giant protecting the rolled medallion lift, has a shield that shows wear patterns consistent with it being struck from the left repeatedly. His stance protects his left side first in every phase of the fight. Easter egg 156. There is a spirit in Stormvale Castle that only appears once and does not repeat its patrol route. It walks through a wall and does not return. Easter egg 157. The Altus Plateau has significantly fewer ghost NPCs than Limgrave, despite being the same approximate size. Limgrave has 19 ghost NPCs. Altus has 4. Easter egg 158, the consecrated snowfield, the hidden optional area reached through the Halig Tree secret medallion, has a blizzard that reduces visibility to roughly 15 meters. The only other area in the game with vision-reducing weather is Caelid, where the sky itself is red. Easter egg 159. Commander O'Neill shouts commands in the swamp of Aeonia to soldiers who are already dead. Every soldier in the swamp is a corpse, or an undead by the time you arrive. He is commanding an army that no longer exists. Easter egg 160. The tree sentinel, the big golden knight on horseback who guards the first step, was placed there by From Software, deliberately as a test. He is completely optional, but stands directly on the path players are expected to take. He signals that the game does not protect you from danger. Easter egg 161. The mimic tier, when it copies you, also copies any message you have written in your equipment description slots. If you wrote a note in your armor's personal slot, the mimic will carry it. Easter egg 162. The name Godwin contains the Old English elements for God and friend. His item descriptions portray him as beloved by almost all who knew him, making the name fitting in ways the localization team likely intended. Easter egg 163. Miquella, who is never seen as an adult in the base game, has an in-game model for an adult form that exists in the game data. It is not used in any released content. Easter egg 164. There is a set of ruins in Limgrave's Mistwood that forms the outline of a building still recognizable as a house. Inside the ruined walls, there is a fire pit. The fire is still going. Easter egg 165. Every ulcerated tree spirit you fight is located underground or inside a structure. Not one appears in the open air of the Lands Between's surface. Easter egg 166. The item description for Margit's shackle says the shackle was used to restrain him. But Margit, in his boss fight, shows no marks of restraint on his body. Either they healed, or the shackle's effect is more metaphorical. Easter egg 167. The bell-bearing hunter invasion NPC, which appears only at night at specific merchant locations, has a unique weapon that can only be obtained by defeating it. The weapon's description says it was made to end the ringing of bells, which is what the bell-bearing system uses. Easter egg 168. When Melina burns at the Forge of the Giants, the camera holds on her face for exactly 4 seconds before cutting away. The burning effect on her face is rendered in higher detail than any other fire effect in the game. Easter egg 169. The game tracks the number of times you have spoken to each NPC, but does not display this count anywhere. Some NPC dialogue only unlocks after a minimum number of previous conversations. Easter egg 170. There is a painting in the Volcano Manor dining room that shows a landscape with no recognizable location from the game world. It is the only painting in the game depicting a place that does not appear to exist. Easter egg 171. The lightning incantations associated with Marika are visually gold. The lightning associated with Radagon is red. They are described as married. In combat, these two types of lightning interact with enemy resistances differently. Easter egg 172. If you use a furl-calling finger remedy near the jellyfish Ash's summoning sign, the jellyfish spirit responds differently than if you use it elsewhere. The spirit animation is almost imperceptibly shorter. Easter egg 173. The godskins, both the noble and the apostle, have names that suggest they have peeled and paper thin. The texture on their skin, at close range, shows faint impressions of faces. Easter egg 174. There are 4 invisible walls in the Lands Between that block the player from falling into inaccessible geometry. 3 of them are in locations players would never naturally reach. The 4th is in a dungeon players are expected to explore fully, and it blocks a hallway that looks completely normal. Easter egg 175. Blade's sword, the Royal Greatsword, has a frost affinity even though Blade is described as a warm and loyal companion. His nature as a half-wolf shadow may explain the cold, but no item text directly makes this connection. Easter egg 176. The Beastman of Farah Mazula has an attack where he bites. The bite hitbox extends slightly further than the visual of the jaw opening suggests it should. Easter egg 177. There is a corpse in the Lanedale sewers that is propped against a wall in a sitting position with its arms resting at its sides. Every other corpse in the sewers is collapsed, fallen, or slumped. This one is composed. Easter egg 178. Roderica's questline was the only major NPC questline that was fully functional at launch without any patches needed. Every other major NPC questline had at least one post-launch patch applied to fix an issue. Easter egg 179. The dragon-skinned soldier enemy type found in crumbling Farah Mazula has a weapon that cannot be obtained by the player in any form. No similar weapon exists in the player's arsenal. Easter egg 180. The Dung Eater's quest is the only major questline that requires you to deliberately choose cruelty. Every other questline rewards helping the NPC. His rewards cruelty. Easter egg 181. When you reload the round table hold after a major story event, the lighting inside changes. This is true after the events of the capital, after Rykard, and after the ending choice is made. The changes are subtle but present. Easter egg 182. The staff of the avatar, used by the Erd Tree avatar enemies, cannot be obtained by the player. An early data mine of the game showed it in the player accessible item list. It was removed before launch. Easter egg 183. Latena's wolf, Lobo, is the only named animal companion in the game whose name is given only in item text and never spoken aloud in any dialogue. Easter egg 184. Every time a tarnished dies in the lore, they are meant to return because of the guidance of grace. But the grace in Elden Ring's current state is broken. The item description for the tarnished's furled finger says grace calls out even when it should not. Easter egg 185. The rune arc item, which activates a Shardbearer's Great Rune, has an item description that says it was made from the arcs of a great rune, but in the opening cinematic, the Elden Ring is shown as a complete circle. This suggests the arcs existed before the shattering. Easter egg 186. Radahn's soldiers at Redmane Castle hold a festival in his honor because they do not want to fight him. The festival is a delaying tactic. The item descriptions for the Redmane armor set confirm the soldiers loved their commander and could not bring themselves to kill him. Easter egg 187. The Frenzied Flame ending is the only ending where the player is referred to by a different title at the end. In all other endings, they are called Elden Lord or a variation. In the Frenzied Flame ending, they are called the Lord of Frenzied Flame. Easter egg 188. There is a ghost in the Church of Ella who tries to light a fire. She fails each time the animation loops. The fire she is trying to light is the same fire that was burning when you first visited the church. Easter egg 189. The rot stench status effect, inflicted by certain enemies in Caelid, has no visual indicator in the player's status bar. It is the only unnamed status effect in the game. Easter egg 190. The Knight's Sacred Ground area, part of Nokron, has a star map on the ceiling. The stars in the map correspond to a real-world star formation, visible in winter from the northern hemisphere. Easter egg 191. There is a statue in Raya Lucaria that has had its face replaced with a glintstone. This is not mentioned anywhere in the game's text. The statue is otherwise identical to the ones with intact faces. Easter egg 192. The Crucible Feather Talisman increases jump attacks. The Crucible was the earliest form of life. The feather aspect is one of the oldest Crucible traits. This suggests that jumping, in some form, has always been a fundamental act of living things. Easter egg 193. The music that plays when you activate a Site of Grace is always the same. But if you activate a grace for the first time in the mountaintops of the Giants, there is an additional half-second of silence before the music begins. Easter egg 194. Ranni's questline is the only one that concludes with an ending cutscene showing someone other than the Tarnished. Every other ending focuses on the player character. Ranni's ending shows her, with the Tarnished visible only as a shadow. Easter egg 195. The fingerprint stone shield is the heaviest shield in the game. Its item description says it bears the mark of the omen. Mog, who has the most prominent omen presence in the game, has a connection to the frenzied flame. The shield's fingerprint pattern matches the design of the frenzied flame seal. Easter egg 196. There is an eagle in the Altus Plateau that drops from above and then retreats. If you track where it retreats to, it returns to a nest on a cliffside that is not otherwise notable. The nest contains no item, but 3 eggs are visible in the model. Easter egg 197. The Millennia boss fight is one of the longest boss fights in the game, in terms of average player time. To defeat her, she is also one of the few bosses with no ranged attack in her first phase. Easter egg 198. The Deathbird enemy type, found only at night, has a specific shadow that does not match its model. The shadow shows a figure with folded wings, even when the Deathbird's wings are spread. Easter egg 199. Patches, in his trap chest letter, writes an apology before explaining that he is not actually sorry. This letter was translated from Japanese, and the translator added the phrase truly sorry at a point where the original simply said sorry. Easter egg 200. The Margit encounter at the foot of Stormvale is the most common point where new players put down the game for the first time. This information was confirmed by Miyazaki in a developer interview, and Margit was made harder during development, not easier after they learned this. Easter egg 201. There is a crab in Limgrave's eastern beach that is significantly larger than the other crabs nearby. It has more health than a standard crab and drops more runes. It is not a named enemy. Easter egg 202. The painting quest lines in Elden Ring send you to specific locations to find ghostly artists. Each artist leaves behind only a reward, an item that references the location they went to paint. None of them are still alive when you find them. Easter egg 203. The Tarnished can wear all armor simultaneously. In terms of game logic, even armor with contradicting lore origins, such as the armor of a death cultist and the armor of a Golden Order crusader, at the same time. Easter egg 204. The Raya Lucaria bell tower has a bell that can be struck. Striking it does nothing observable, but the audio file triggered by striking it is different from all other bell audio in the game. Easter egg 205. There is a cave in the Weeping Peninsula called the Earthbore Cave. Inside is a giant sleeping turtle. The turtle has more HP than the cave's boss. The boss is a rune bear. Easter egg 206. Blade's questline ends with him going mad and attacking the player. This is foreshadowed in the game's very first mention of him, where a spirit says something out there howls like it has lost its mind. Easter egg 207. The Godric, the Grafted Arena, has a pile of giant body parts in the corner that are not from any enemy type visible in the game. Their scale suggests they belong to something much larger than Godric himself. Easter egg 208. The glintstone key that opens Raya Lucaria is found near a dead sorcerer in Liurnia. The sorcerer has no name and no item description, but the key's description says it was entrusted to a sorcerer for safekeeping. Easter egg 209. There are exactly 33 types of spirits that can be summoned using ashes. 33 was a symbolic number in several ancient religious traditions, representing completion or divine perfection. Easter egg 210. The Tarnished's right hand holds their main weapon. Their left hand holds their shield or offhand item. If no shield or offhand item is equipped, the left hand hangs loosely at the side during walk animations. The Tarnished does not clench their left fist. Easter egg 211. The Gelmir hero's grave has a river of lava that can kill you instantly. The only path through the grave requires timing movement across stone bridges, while a rolling boulder passes. The boulder and the lava timer are designed to force the player into a specific rhythm. Easter egg 212. Draconic Tree Sentinel wears armor that includes a dragon head. The dragon's eyes on the armor open during the boss's lightning phase. Easter egg 213, Lanedell's Catacombs, officially named the Lanedell Catacombs, contain the body of an omen that is larger than Morgoth. This omen has no name, no lore connection, and no dialogue. Easter egg 214. The area behind Gerank's chamber in the Bestial Sanctum has a series of claw marks on the stone floor. The marks are consistent, with a very large creature pacing back and forth repeatedly over a long period of time. Easter egg 215. There is an Evergale called the Celia Hideaway that is not technically an Evergale. It is a cave accessed through a hidden wall. The name Hideaway is used by community players but not in any official text. Easter egg 216. The Swords of Night and Flame, one of the most popular weapons in the game's early meta, was nerfed in patch 1.03. Before the patch, its damage output at maximum upgrade was the highest of any single weapon in the game by a significant margin. Easter egg 217. Lord Shabriri, who possesses Hyetta, speaks with the same voice cadence as regular Hyetta, but at a slightly lower pitch. The pitch difference is less than one semitone. It is only noticeable with headphones at high volume. Easter egg 218. The giant conquering hero's grave has paintings on its interior walls. The paintings show humans standing on top of giants. The giants in the paintings are rendered in a prostrated position, not a defeated one, suggesting worship rather than conquest. Easter egg 219. The whetstone knife found in a chest in Limgrave is the first item that teaches players about Ashes of War. The chest containing it is in a location directly on the path from the first step to the gatefront ruins, suggesting it was placed to be found early. Easter egg 220. There is a message written on the ground near the Agheel Lake north site of Grace that says seek the first step. This message is written by a developer, not a player, and is one of the few non-player messages in the game written entirely in lowercase. Easter egg 221. The Capital of Ash version of Lanedell, accessed after a major story event, has all the same geometry as regular Lanedell, but with different ambient music. The music in the Ash version has a recurring note that is exactly 4 semitones lower than the corresponding note in the pre-Ash version. Easter egg 222. There are stone sword key doors that, when opened, lead to a room containing one item. In every case, the item behind the door is related in its item description to the description of the door itself. Easter egg 223. The Church of Vows, where you can absolve yourself of sins using celestial dew, is guarded by a giant turtle named Miriel, pastor of vows. Miriel says he has been at the church for a very long time and does not know who built it. Easter egg 224. Miriel cannot move. He mentions this casually and says there is no need to move when everything one needs is here. He is the only NPC in the game who explicitly acknowledges his own immobility. Easter egg 225. The shattering, which refers to the breaking of the Elden Ring, is described as having happened a generation ago, but some NPCs speak about it as if it were recent. The timeline of the shattering relative to the present in-game time is deliberately ambiguous. Easter egg 226. The two-player summon range in Elden Ring is calculated based on rune level, not player level. This is different from Dark Souls, where soul level was the determining factor. Easter egg 227. There is a dragon that drops a specific talisman unique to it. The dragon, Borealis the Freezing Fog, has no unique lore beyond its name and the talisman description. Its origin is not explained. Easter egg 228. The Midnight Lady, the NPC who sells preserving boluses, was added to the game in a patch and was not present at launch. Her dialogue references events she could not have witnessed based on her location, suggesting she was cut from an earlier version of the game's story. Easter egg 229. There is a ghost on the Raya Lucaria rooftops who is reading a book. If you approach slowly, she looks up at you before looking back down. If you approach quickly, she does not react. Easter egg 230. The Jarben questline, which involves Alexander, ends with a small jar NPC inheriting Alexander's dream. The final item you receive from the questline is named for Alexander and describes him as complete. Easter egg 231. There are invisible enemies in the Liurnia shore area that can only be detected by their attack animations or the sentry's torch. These enemies have full attack patterns and are completely silent. Easter egg 232. The rotten stray enemy type in Caelid moves faster than the standard stray enemy in Limgrave, despite being described as diseased and weakened. Easter egg 233. There is a spirit who stands inside the Stormvale Castle throne room and looks at Godric's throne for the entirety of their patrol loop. They never turn away from it. Easter egg 234. The sacred relic sword, obtained at the end of the game, has the highest rune farming potential of any item when combined with its wave of gold ability and enemy placement in the Ashen capital. Easter egg 235. Hugh, upon being asked to forge a weapon capable of killing a god, says he does not know if such a weapon can exist, but he says he will try because that is what smiths do. Easter egg 236. The grafted scions that appear throughout the game have arms from multiple different species. Some of the arms appear to be from creatures not otherwise seen in Elden Ring. Their origin is not explained. Easter egg 237. The cave that leads to the Erd tree's roots in the subterranean shunning grounds has a sound design element where the music drops completely at a specific depth. Below that depth, there is only a low drone. No music plays again until you exit. Easter egg 238. Enya, the finger reader at Round Table Hold, can read the great runes of bosses you have defeated. Her reading of Radahn's rune takes 3 seconds longer than any other. She pauses mid-reading. Easter egg 239. The game files contain unused dialogue from the two fingers directly addressing the player. In all final game content, the two fingers communicate only through Enya. Easter egg 240. There is a trapped chest in the Dragonburnt ruins in Limgrave that teleports you to the Celia Crystal Tunnel in Caelid. This trap is one of the first things players can interact with. It is also one of the most shared discoveries among new players. Easter egg 241. The Scarlet Rot is not simply a disease in the lore. Item descriptions suggest it is connected to a specific god, Malenia's outer god, and that it functions as a form of divine will rather than a plague. Easter egg 242. There is a dog in Volcano Manor's grounds that does not appear on any map. It roams in a section of the exterior that players are not expected to visit. It is hostile, but has significantly less HP than manor enemies of similar size. Easter egg 243. Nefeli's questline is one of very few questlines that can end positively or neutrally without player error. Most questlines in From Software games end in tragedy, by default. Easter egg 244. There is a chest in the Lanedale sewers that contains the Margit's shackle even if the player already owns one. It is possible to own 2 Margit's shackles simultaneously. Easter egg 245. The night cavalry enemies only appear at night. If you arrive at their patrol location during the day, the area is empty. The transition between night and day in Elden Ring takes exactly 45 in-game seconds, which is roughly 90 seconds of real time. Easter egg 246. The Lands Between has a physical edge. If you travel to the extreme boundary of the playable map using exploits, you reach a flat void. The void has no floor texture and instantly kills the player with a message that reads, "You are dead," which is the same death message used everywhere. Easter egg 247. There is an area in Raya Lucaria where 2 moving platforms meet at a specific interval that would allow a player with precise timing to jump between them without dying. The timing window is 3 frames. Most players use the intended path instead. Easter egg 248. The Godskin duo boss fight, where 2 Godskins must be defeated in the same arena, is the only boss fight in the game with a shared health bar mechanic in one specific configuration. If one is killed, the other eventually revives. Easter egg 249. The Talisman pouch, which allows you to equip more talismans, is described as a pouch sewn by finger maidens. The pouch is made of a material that is not described in any other item. Easter egg 250. The bell-bearing hunter NPC who attacks at night when merchants are asleep wears armor that is a modified version of the Royal Knight armor set. It is not obtainable in its modified form. Easter egg 251. There is an underground arena beneath the Volcano Manor, accessible only through the Sorcerer Raya's questline, that contains one enemy and one item. The arena itself is far larger than it needs to be for the single fight it hosts. Easter egg 252. The naming of sites of grace follows a consistent rule. If a grace is named for a specific location, it is always at that location's edge. If named for a route, it is always at the start of the route. Easter egg 253, Festering Bloody Fingers, used for hostile invasions, have an item description that says they are made from the fingers of desperate individuals. The Bloody Finger Hunter Covenant items have descriptions that suggest hunters were created specifically to counter the desperate. Easter egg 254, Mong, Lord of Blood's arena, the Mongwin Palace, is bathed in red light. The red light source is not visible anywhere in the arena. There is no sun, no torch, and no flame in the space that would produce a light of that color or intensity. Easter egg 255. The walking mausoleum that carries a bell, which allows duplication of remembrances, plays a faint bell tone when approached. The bell's pitch is different from any bell in any church or structure in the game. Easter egg 256. Commander O'Neill is the only field boss who calls for reinforcements. His reinforcement summons are already positioned in the swamp before the fight starts, standing still, waiting. Easter egg 257. The grafted dragon, the boss arm weapon that can be obtained from Godric's remembrance, shoots fire. The fire's color is slightly more orange than the fire produced by the fire monk enemies, suggesting a different source. Easter egg 258. There is an unnamed knight in the Limgrave tunnels who, unlike every other enemy in the tunnel, does not respond to noise. Every other enemy in the dungeon can be drawn out by sound. This one requires direct line of sight. Easter egg 259. The game's title screen shows the words Elden Ring against a blank dark background with no other imagery. This is unusual for a From Software title. Dark Souls showed a bonfire. Bloodborne showed the city. Sekiro showed the character. Elden Ring shows only the name. Easter egg 260. Millicent's prosthetic arm, once attached, causes her to hold it slightly away from her body in all subsequent animations. It is not clear whether this is because of pain or because she is still getting used to it. Easter egg 261. The Tarnished can wear the armor of Godric. Rennala, Radahn, and most boss characters. Wearing the armor of an Elden Lord while speaking to an NPC who swore to a different Elden Lord produces no unique dialogue. Easter egg 262. Patches references his past in multiple games without directly referencing them. In Elden Ring, he says he has done this sort of thing before and that it never ends well for anyone, himself included. Easter egg 263. The Death Root, which you bring to Garank, grows in places where the rune of death has been allowed to take hold. The locations of Deathroot items on the map correspond almost exactly to major battlefields and sites of mass death in the game's history. Easter egg 264. In the final cutscene of the Age of Stars ending, Ranni moves away from the lands between and into space. The direction she travels corresponds to the actual location of a specific constellation that was significant in Japanese star mythology. Easter egg 265. Tanith eats Rykard's remains after his death if you complete her questline. Her final state, found near Rykard's arena, shows her in a pose that mirrors the serpent's resting position. In the boss fight, Easter egg 266. The game files include a model for an unused boss, named in the files as the Lord of the Fringes. No such boss appears in the final game. and no item references this title. Easter egg 267. The Round Table Hold is described as a place outside the lands between where Tarnished can gather. Its exact location is never specified. It has no grace trails leading to or from it on the world map. Easter egg 268. The HP bar for Melania is gold during her first phase. In her second phase, it shifts slightly toward a pinkish hue. This is not referenced anywhere in the game's text. Easter egg 269. There is a corpse in the Deeproot depths dressed in Golden Order robes. The corpse holds a lantern that is still lit. The lantern is not an obtainable item. Easter egg 270. Nefeli Lux's last name, Lux, is a reference to the real-world name of the man who wrestled and defeated giants in European folk mythology. Her fighting style is based on real wrestling. Easter egg 271. The wandering mausoleums, when their bells are struck, produce a sound that carries across the in-game landscape for a distance of roughly 100 meters. This is the longest range ambient sound in the game. Easter egg 272. There is a door in the Stormvale Castle main hall that opens inward and cannot be opened from the outside. If you enter through a window and reach the inside of the door, you can open it and use it as a shortcut from that point forward. Easter egg 273. Rogier mentions he is looking into a great knot beneath the Erd tree. He dies before he can tell you what he found. The knot he references matches the geometry of the Erd tree roots in the subterranean shunning grounds. Easter egg 274. There is a version of the Elden Ring title card that was used in early promotional material with slightly different typography. The ring in the logo is slightly thicker in the final game version. Easter egg 275. The snowfield crows in the consecrated snowfield, larger than standard crows, are attracted to the death root item if you are carrying it. They will target you over other enemies in the area. Easter egg 276. A Sanguine Noble invasion occurs in Mogwin Palace. The Sanguine Noble enemy, unlike most invasion-type NPCs, does not retreat or reposition. He advances until dead. Easter egg 277. The Winged Serpent Helm has an item description that says the serpent devours all things and returns them transformed. This matches the philosophy of Rykard, who sought to consume the gods by having them consume him first. Easter egg 278. The Spirit Spring jumps, which send the player flying upward on columns of wind, always land you within 5 meters of the nearest notable collectible or discovery in the surrounding area. Easter egg 279. There is a dungeon called the Volcano Cave in Mount Gelmir. Its boss is a demi-human queen. Inside the cave, before the boss door, is a room with a throne made of bones. The throne faces the boss fog gate. Easter egg 280. The revered spirit ash item, used to upgrade ashes beyond a certain level, is one of the rarest materials in the game. It drops from a specific type of enemy in the consecrated snowfield and from specific late-game treasure chests. Easter egg 281. Every merchant in the game has a unique hum they make when the player is nearby. The hum of the merchant Kale is in a different musical key than all other merchants. Easter egg 282. The rotten crystal sword, found in Elfale, has a description that says the blade holds both decay and brilliance within it. This is the only item in the game that describes itself as holding two opposing properties simultaneously. Easter egg 283. Lord Gwyn from Dark Souls and Marika from Elden Ring both sacrificed themselves to maintain an age of fire and gold, respectively. Both are described as having done so silently, without telling anyone else. Easter egg 284. The Falling Star Beast boss, both the main version and the smaller field versions, leaves a crater when it lands. The craters are permanent and remain in the world after the boss is dead. Easter egg 285. There is a chandelier in the Volcano Manor dining room that holds 48 candles. 32 of them are lit. The unlit candles are positioned on the north side of the chandelier. Easter egg 286. Every spirit you can summon in the game has a unique death animation. None of them use the same death animation as the Tarnished. Easter egg 287. In the Age of Fracture ending, the only ending available to most players on a first playthrough, the Tarnished touches the Elden Ring and ascends. The rune they use to do so is never named in the ending cutscene. Easter egg 288. Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, was exiled from the Lands Between because he lost his grace. Item descriptions suggest grace is something given, not earned, and that Marika removed it from him, deliberately. Easter egg 289. The remembrance of the grafted, obtained from Godric, can be used to obtain either a weapon or a skill. The weapon and the skill are both related to the act of grafting, but neither one is the arm weapon Godric himself uses in the fight. Easter egg 290. There is a hidden room in the Erd Tree Gazing Hill Site of Grace, area that contains a body with a specific set of items referencing the Night of the Black Knives, the pivotal assassination event in the game's lore history. Easter egg 291. Wilder is a name that appears in the Shadow of the Erd Tree expansion, but was present in the game's internal files long before the expansion was released. This suggests the expansion was planned well in advance of its announcement. Easter egg 292. The Elden Ring codebase references a biome called Swamp of Regret that does not exist in the released game. Its environmental assets were partially completed before being cut. Easter egg 293. Ranni describes the Age of Stars as a cold, quiet age of order. Every other character in the game associates cold with death or stagnation. Her description of her ideal future uses the same language other characters use for endings. Easter egg 294. The player character can sprint in Elden Ring. In Dark Souls, sprinting was a stamina-draining activity. In Elden Ring, sprinting still drains stamina, but the drain rate is lower than Dark Souls by approximately 30%. Easter egg 295. Gold Mask, the NPC found kneeling on a broken archway, communicates only through gesture. His gestures cannot be decoded through any known gesture system. Brother Corhin interprets them, but his interpretations are never confirmed as accurate. Easter egg 296. The Gold Mask armor worn by Gold Mask is available to the player. Wearing it while talking to Brother Corhin does not produce unique dialogue. Easter egg 297. The Flask of Wondrous Physic, which can be customized with crystal tears, is one of the few items in the game that changes in appearance as you add items to it. The flask's liquid changes color based on what tears are inside. Easter egg 298. There is a corpse near the minor Erd Tree in the Altus Plateau that holds a note. The note refers to a map location that does not correspond to any named place in the game. Easter egg 299. The Flame of Frenzy eyes on the Tarnished, acquired through the Frenzied Flame ending path, cannot be removed without help from a specific NPC. If that NPC is dead, the eyes cannot be removed at all. Easter egg 300. Melania says, before her boss fight, that she has never known defeat. This is technically true. She defeats Radahn through the Rot Bloom, not through conventional combat. Her claim is carefully worded. Easter egg 301. The Elden Ring item, the actual object that is the goal of the game, is never held by the player in any conventional way. It is absorbed or merged with rather than picked up. Easter egg 302. There are exactly 9 finger reader crowns in the Lands Between. 9 is the number of great runes, including the one the Elden Ring itself contains. Easter egg 303. The Finger Slayer blade, the item central to Ranni's questline, is described as a weapon that can harm the 2 fingers. It is the only weapon in the game explicitly capable of killing the divine bureaucracy that governs the Lands Between. Easter egg 304. If you follow the nomadic merchant in East Limgrave far enough on his patrol route, he eventually sits down and stops for a while. During this rest period, he hums. The tune he hums is a slowed version of the Elden Ring main theme. Easter egg 305. There is a ghost at Calu Baptismal Church in the Weeping Peninsula who kneels in prayer in front of a statue. The statue's face is missing. The ghost kneels facing the blank face. Easter egg 306. The tree sentinel who patrols the avenue balcony in Lanedell is the only tree sentinel in the game who does not respawn after being defeated. Every other instance of this enemy type respawns with resting at a site of grace. Easter egg 307. The magma worm Makar boss fight, a required fight to progress toward the Altus Plateau, takes place on a bridge. The bridge has a specific crack pattern that matches the pattern of the scar on Maka's underside. Easter egg 308. Fia's questline can be completely missed by players who never embrace her. The act of hugging her to receive Baldakin's blessing is optional, but triggers the entire questline. Many players complete the game without knowing Fia's storyline exists. Easter egg 309. The weathered map found in the Stormvale Castle marks a location in Limgrave with an X. The X corresponds to a specific in-game location where the player can find a teardrop scarab. The item the scarab drops is connected to Godric's history. Easter egg 310. The Crucible of Life, a term used in item descriptions, is described differently depending on which faction the item belongs to. The Golden Order describes it as beautiful. The Ancient Dragon faction describes it as neutral. The Farum Azula enemies do not describe it at all. Easter egg 311. Malenia's boss door is framed by two large rote flower sculptures. The flowers are open when you approach and begin to close as you enter. After the fight is over and she is dead, the flowers are fully closed. Easter egg 312. The rooftops of Stormvale Castle are accessible but never marked on the in-game map. The map only shows the interior of the castle. Players exploring the rooftops are doing so without guidance. Easter egg 313. There is a bird nest on one of the Stormvale rooftops that contains a golden seed. The nest is built around the seed rather than a conventional bird egg. The connection between the nest and the golden seed is not explained. Easter egg 314. The walking speed of every named merchant NPC was individually set during development. Kayleigh walks faster than any other merchant. The unnamed merchants in the mountain tops of the giants walk the slowest. Easter egg 315. Blade appears in 4 separate locations across the game. His appearance at each location coincides with a different phase of Ranni's questline. His fate at each location slightly worsens. Easter egg 316. The Miquella's Halig Tree Legacy Dungeon, which houses the Malenia fight, is one of the hardest optional areas in the game. The developers confirmed in an interview that Malenia was designed specifically for players who had already seen everything else the game had to offer. Easter egg 317. There are 2 separate boss fights in the game where the player can avoid fighting entirely by using a specific dialogue option. Both options still give the boss encounter credit in the game's progression tracking. Easter egg 318. Every omen in the game, which are humans born with horns, were historically subject to rituals intended to remove the horns. The ritual, described in item text, involved a specific blade that can be found in the Lanedell sewers. Easter egg 319. The item description for Mog's armor says that, despite his corruption and exile, he never stopped believing in a future of grace. He is one of the most antagonistic characters in the game, and one of the most earnest. Easter egg 320. There is a pool of water in the Siofra River that reflects the sky correctly even though there is no sky directly above it. The reflected image shows a daytime sky even during the in-game night cycle. Easter egg 321. The Liurnia of the Lakes region was once farmland before it flooded. Data miners have found hidden geometry beneath the lake's surface that includes cobblestone paths and building foundations. Easter egg 322. The grafted blade greatsword, the weapon obtained from the Mornay tunnel boss, has the highest individual weight value of any weapon in the game. Easter egg 323. There is a spirit in the Celia town of sorcery who runs rather than walks. Every other spirit in the game moves at walking speed. This one runs and then stops at the same point on each loop. Easter egg 324. The frenzied flame, When the player touches it in the subterranean shunning grounds, brands the character on their torso. The brand is visible on the character's bare skin. Easter egg 325. Lanedale, the capital, has a visible sewage system that exits through the city's eastern wall. The sewers beneath the city are one of the largest interior levels in the game. Easter egg 326. The clean rot spear weapon has a description that says it was made from a material that resists the scarlet rot. But clean rot knights in the Haligtree area are visibly afflicted by the rot despite carrying these weapons. Easter egg 327. There is a specific combination of armor pieces that creates a complete suit with no visible skin. Most armor combinations in the game leave at least one skin surface, usually the hands or neck, exposed. Easter egg 328. The hidden path to the Haligtree, which requires the two halves of the Haligtree secret medallion, is one of the most obscure progression gates in the game. The two halves are in opposite ends of the map, with no direct hint connecting them. Easter egg 329. The Confessor starting class has the highest combined faith and intelligence of any starting class. Neither stat is its highest individual stat, but the combined total exceeds all others. Easter egg 330. There are 8 separate underground regions in the lands between. Only 3 of them appear on the default map view. The others require purchasing or finding separate map fragments. Easter egg 331. The boss music for the Godskin Apostle features a motif that is played in reverse in the second phase. This is only noticeable if you slow the audio down to a quarter speed. Easter egg 332. The death sound effect for the player character is unique for every weapon type used to deliver the killing blow. This means there are separate death sounds for dying to a sword, a hammer, a bow, a spell, fire, gravity damage, and so on. Easter egg 333. Nepheli, Gideon's adopted daughter, was born to a woman Gideon never named. In the game files, the unnamed woman's character slot is titled simply her. Easter egg 334. The Remembrance System, allowing you to trade boss remembrances for weapons and spells, was originally going to allow bosses to be resurrected at a cost. This feature was cut, but the resurrection animations are still in the game files. Easter egg 335. Goldmask's questline, completed correctly, results in an ending where the Erdtree is remade. It is the only ending where the Tarnished is described as restoring something, rather than replacing or destroying it. Easter egg 336. There is a room in the Raya Lucaria Academy, accessible only via a hidden wall that contains a chair, a telescope, and a piece of parchment on the floor. The parchment's text, too small to read in standard gameplay, contains coordinates that match an in-game location in Altus. Easter egg 337. The Sword of Night and Flame was described by players as the most cinematic weapon in the game because of its dual sorcery and faith beam attacks. It was designed, according to Miyazaki, to represent 2 ways of seeing the same light. Easter egg 338. The final message before the final boss, left by From Software, reads, "This is the most formidable foe in the game." It is the most explicit warning given anywhere in the game. Easter egg 339. Commander Nile, the boss of Castle Sol, in the mountaintops of the Giants, is the only major boss who is also described as a veteran soldier rather than a supernatural entity. He fights like a person rather than a monster. Easter egg 340. There is a root growing through the center of the round table hold that is visible in the floor geometry. It is not mentioned in any NPC dialogue and does not interact with gameplay. Easter egg 341. Melina says she is the child of no one. Her appearance, particularly her red hair and closed eye, matches Marika in one set of descriptions and matches Ranni's description of her mother's family in another. The connection is never confirmed. Easter egg 342. The Bloodhound Knight Darrywil, the Evergale boss in Limgrave, can be summoned to help fight Radahn, the exact same NPC who is imprisoned in an Evergale as a murderer, is also available as a summon for a later, harder fight. Easter egg 343. There are invisible scarabs, the small glowing beetles that drop ashes of war in areas where no visible scarab exists. Their location can only be detected by their faint dust trail. Easter egg 344. The Tarnished's armor takes visible damage over the course of a battle, but this is purely cosmetic. The game renders wear marks on armor surfaces during combat, but these do not affect stats or durability. Easter egg 345. The runes of the bosses, when activated through the medallion obtained from the two fingers. Each grant a different passive effect. The effects are not randomized, they are fixed to each individual boss and described in their individual rune items. Easter egg 346. There is a letter left in a minor dungeon called the Tombswood Cave that describes a journey from Leyndell to the Weeping Peninsula that took many weeks. The journey by horse in-game takes less than 3 minutes. Easter egg 347. Bok the Seamster asks the player if they find him beautiful before his arc is complete. The question is framed as genuine uncertainty. Every other NPC who asks the player a question does so rhetorically. Easter egg 348. The Flask of Tears, which is Melina's flask given to the player, cannot be used by the Tarnished the same way other flasks can. It is given for the purpose of a single specific action and cannot be refilled. Easter egg 349. The Deathbirds that appear only at night share a model with the Deathbird boss encountered during the day in one specific location. The night versions have a different colouring and slightly different wing proportions. Easter egg 350. There is a site of grace inside a dragon's body in Farum Azula. The grace is inside the chest cavity. Getting to it requires passing through the dragon's open mouth and navigating through its skeletal interior. Easter egg 351. Marika and Radagon are the same person. This is revealed through the game's lore, as it becomes clear that Marika split herself into two forms. Every item description that refers to them separately is written from the perspective of someone who did not know this. Easter egg 352. The Black Knife Assassins. The killers who carried out the Night of the Black Knives wore armor that muffled the sound of their footsteps. The Black Knife armor set, when worn in the game, produces a quieter footstep sound than any other armor. Easter egg 353. Ranni's age is never stated. She says she abandoned her body long ago and took a doll form in its place. The doll she inhabits appears child-sized, but she speaks with the vocabulary and authority of a much older being. Easter egg 354. There is a ladder in the Leyndell sewers that has 30 rungs. Every other major ladder in the game has between 12 and 20 rungs. Easter egg 355. The worm-face enemy type, found in the Altus Plateau, has a scream that inflicts Deathblight. Deathblight is the most lethal instant kill status effect in the game, and the hardest to resist. Easter egg 356. There are 3 types of fire in Elden Ring: Beast Fire, Golden Fire, and Frenzied Flame. Each is described in item text as fundamentally different in origin. Enemies resistant to one type are not necessarily resistant to the others. Easter egg 357. The Moon of Noxtella Talisman, found in the Eternal City, increases memory slots for sorceries. Its item description says the moon illuminated the chambers of thought. Noxtella was a city of sorcerers. Easter egg 358. There is a giant statue in the Noxtella Eternal City of a figure holding 2 bells. The bells are raised as if the figure is about to ring them. The figure's face is obscured by a hood. Easter egg 359. The area transition from the Siofra River to the Nokron Eternal City is not marked on the map with any distinct boundary. Players exploring the underground areas often do not realize they have crossed between regions. Easter egg 360. The Swamp of Aeonia, where Commander O'Neill is fought, and where Melinia's rot bloom occurred, is in the exact center of the Caelid region. This is confirmed by overlaying the region map with geometric coordinates. Easter egg 361. There is an in-game item called the Serpent Arrow whose description says it carries the ambitions of a lord who sought to devour the gods. This is Rykard. The arrows are sold by a specific merchant whose shop is directly accessible from Volcano Manor. Easter egg 362. The Giant's Prayer Book contains incantations used by the fire giants before they were nearly exterminated. The fire giants who remain in the mountaintops are not hostile until you enter their territory. They are the last of their kind. Easter egg 363. The Colossal Sword Weapon class has the slowest attack animations in the game by an average of 6 frames per swing, compared to the second slowest class. Easter egg 364. Every Catacombs dungeon in the game ends with an imp statue door that requires 2 stone sword keys. Behind each door is a different item. None of the behind door items are essential to game completion. Easter egg 365. There is a fresco on the wall of the Ariza hero's grave that depicts a figure riding a horse across a burning field. The figure's pose is identical to Godfrey's pose in his boss arena entrance animation. Easter egg 366. The item Festering Bloody Finger and the item Furl Calling Finger Remedy are direct opposites. One opens you to invasions, one reveals cooperative summoning signs. Their item descriptions reference each other in the lore. Easter egg 367. The Erd Tree, in the late game, after being lit on fire, does not stop burning. The fire visible in the sky from that point forward is perpetual and is visible from every outdoor area in the game. Easter egg 368. The Walking Mausoleum's bell sounds different depending on how many times you have struck its legs. As its legs are weakened by damage, the bell's resonance frequency shifts upward. Easter egg 369. Latenna spent her whole life walking toward the Halig tree, and when you bring her there, her questline ends with her staying. She spent everything getting there, and then she simply stays. Easter egg 370. The Dragon Lord Placidus axe fight, found in Farum Azula at the bottom of a tornado, is the most visually elaborate boss fight in the game in terms of particle effects and lighting system load. Easter egg 371. Placidus Axe was the Elden Lord before Godfrey. He ruled under a god who later fled. He has been waiting in that time-locked space for his god to return. The god never returns. Easter egg 372. There is an unused enemy in the game files called the Fog Rider. It has a complete model, partial animations, and an unfinished sound set. It was cut at a late stage of development. Easter egg 373. The stone sword keys used to open imp statue doors leave a residue on the statue after use. The residue texture is different for each type of item found behind the door, though this is only visible at extreme close range. Easter egg 374. The Shadow Keep, in the Shadow of the Erd Tree expansion, uses lighting from a single directional source that cannot be attributed to any in-world sun or torch. The source moves over the course of the in-game day. Easter egg 375. There are 8 Erd trees in the lands between, the central one and 7 minor ones. The minor Erd trees are always found at locations associated with major lore events in the game's history. Easter egg 376. The name of the world, the lands between, is never fully explained. Between what exactly is never stated. Several item descriptions suggest it means between life and death, or between grace and the void. Easter egg 377. The Rune of Death, once stolen by Ranni, made it possible for gods to truly die. Before the Night of the Black Knives, gods and demigods could only be imprisoned or diminished, never killed. Easter egg 378. There is a sword called the Coded Sword that deals holy damage exclusively. Its item description says it was made for those who enforce the Golden Order's laws absolutely. It has no physical damage stat whatsoever. Easter egg 379. The Banished Knight set is described as armor worn by those exiled from their homes for being too loyal to the old ways. The banished knights you fight are scattered throughout the world, in different regions, but all face east when idle. The Starfist weapon, a pair of knuckle weapons studded with stars, has a description referencing the stars that guided travelers. The Starfist is one of the most aggressively designed melee weapons in the game. Easter egg 381. There are multiple invisible bridges in the Halig tree. Their presence was signaled to players through the placement of fog effects and by the position of nearby enemies who appear to be standing in midair. Easter egg 382. Mog's lore indicates he kidnapped Miquella and brought him to Mogwyn Palace to raise him as a consort. Miquella is still cocooned when the player arrives, asleep and apparently unaware of any of it. Easter egg 383. The sound effect for resting at a site of grace was not present in early builds of the game. The sound of the grace activating was added late in development after testing showed players needed an audio cue to confirm progress was saved. Easter egg 384. There is a church in Liurnia called the Church of Inhibition. If you approach it from below, a targeting cursor appears on you without any visible enemy in range. The cursor belongs to an invisible invader named Festering Bloody Finger Vike. Easter egg 385. Vike, whose armor can be found and worn by the player, was the Tarnished who came closest to becoming Elden Lord before you. His failure led him to the Frenzied Flame. Easter egg 386. The Tarnished's horse, Torrent, has no item description. Every other named entity in the game with a presence in the world has associated item text. Torrent's only text is in the spectral steed whistle that summons him. Easter egg 387. The spectral steed whistle description says Torrent was entrusted to Melina and passed to the player through her, but Torrent does not react to Melina's absence after she is gone. He continues to come when called. Easter egg 388. There is a location in the Altus Plateau, accessible only by jumping from a very specific ledge, where you can find a pair of items that together describe a story that has no associated NPC, no questline, and no boss. The story is complete in just 2 item descriptions. Easter egg 389. The windmill village in the Altus Plateau is populated by dancing women who are hostile. They are celebrating a ceremony that involves harming themselves. The ceremony's purpose is described in an item found in the area. Easter egg 390. The Grace Mimic, a creature in the underground regions that disguises itself as a site of grace, has the same gold colouring as a real grace. The only distinction is that the Grace Mimic's light has a very slight flicker that real graces do not have. Easter egg 391. There is a flying jellyfish enemy in the game that exists in only one area, the offshore islands near East Limgrave. No other flying jellyfish appears anywhere else in the world. Easter egg 392. The Volcano Manor sends you to kill other Tarnished. The targets are named and have backstories implied by their armor sets. One target, Juno Hoslow, Knight of Blood, wears a set that references a family whose other member appears later in the game. Easter egg 393. The twinned armor set, worn by D, Hunter of the Dead, is described as belonging to a set meant for 2 people. His brother, who appears later, wears the second half. Easter egg 394. Alexander the Iron Fist contains the remains of warriors inside his jar body. His final dialogue before his last fight requests that you absorb his remains after defeating him. He wants his essence to carry forward inside a warrior stronger than himself. Easter egg 395. The Spirit Caller Cave boss fight pits the player against 2 spirit summons controlled by a snail. The snail itself is harmless. Killing the snail ends the fight instantly. Easter egg 396. There is a message on the roof of the First Church of Marika that reads, "Only remember." It was not placed by players and does not appear in the player message system. It is environmental text. Easter egg 397. The grafted scion which kills the player in the tutorial can be fought as a regular enemy later in the game in a different location. It drops items in the field encounter that it does not drop in the tutorial. Easter egg 398. There is a cave called the Gal Cave in the Altus region that is described in player notes as easy, but actually contains some of the most aggressive enemy patrol patterns of any dungeon at that stage of the game. Easter egg 399. The Lightning Spear incantation associated with the ancient dragons, can be obtained earlier in the game than most dragon-related spells. Its power at minimum faith is modest but increases dramatically at higher levels. Easter Egg 400. The Medallion of Marika found in Celia, Town of Sorcery, depicts Marika with her arms raised and her eyes closed. In the game's opening cinematic, she is shown with her arms raised in the same pose at the moment the Elden Ring shatters. Easter Egg 401. The Millennia boss fight has a life steal mechanic where she heals on every hit, including attacks that are blocked. This was initially not communicated to players anywhere in the game. It was the most frequent cause of confusion among first-time players encountering her. Easter Egg 402. The music that plays during the Age of Stars ending contains a motif from Ranni's theme that appears reversed. The reversed motif plays only in the final 15 seconds of the track. Easter Egg 403. There is a hidden room in the sealed tunnel in Altus Plateau that contains a map fragment. The room is accessible only by hitting a specific section of wall that has no visible distinguishing feature. Easter Egg 404. The Carrion Regal Scepter weapon, associated with Renala, has a description that says it bears the light of the full moon. The full moon in Elden Ring is associated with sorcery, intelligence, and the lineage of Carrier. Easter Egg 405. There are footprints in the Forbidden Lands that do not belong to any enemy type present in the area. The footprints are large and lead toward the Grand Lift of Rold. No creature is visible at the end of the trail. Easter Egg 406. The Elden Lord armor set, wearable by the player, is designed to fit a taller and broader body than the Tarnished's default frame. When worn, it clips slightly through the player model at the shoulders. Easter Egg 407. There are bloodstains on the floor of the round table hold near the hallway to the Two Fingers room. These stains appear after a specific story event and are not present before it. Nobody acknowledges them. Easter Egg 408. The Heligdrake talisman, which reduces holy damage, was the most commonly equipped talisman in the game's first 3 months, according to network data released by From Software. Easter Egg 409. The Red Wolf of Radagon shares a model skeleton with the dog enemy type found in Caelid. The major differences are size, fur texture, and the magical properties of the wolf's glintstone jaw. Easter Egg 410. There is a room in Stormvale Castle that smells, according to an in-game message, of cheese. The message is player-placed and was upvoted by thousands of players, making it one of the highest-rated messages in that area. The room contains no cheese. Easter Egg 411. The minor Erd tree in the Weeping Peninsula blooms with golden flowers that do not appear near any other minor Erd tree. The flowers drop a unique item when struck. The item's description says it was used in ceremonies once and has not been used since. Easter Egg 412. There is an illusory wall in the Volcano Manor that, when struck, reveals a hallway identical to the one it mirrors on the other side. The duplicated hallway leads to a room that contains nothing except an open window. Easter Egg 413. The Ancient Dragon Lanciax, encountered twice, as described earlier, was once worshipped by a tribe of humans who built temples in her honor. The temples are long ruined, and the tribe is gone. Easter Egg 414. The Shabriri's Woe talisman, which draws enemy aggro to the player, is associated with Lord Shabriri. In multiplayer, equipping it makes you the primary target for hostile invaders automatically. Easter Egg 415. There is a golden tear at the base of the minor Erd tree in Caelid. Considering Caelid is one of the most hostile regions in the game, the existence of a grace-related object here suggests the area was not always as ruined as it appears. Easter Egg 416. The walking speed of the Tarnished, while crouching, is noticeably slower than in other From Software games. It was specifically tuned to allow enemies with sound detection to be avoided at very close range. Easter Egg 417. Bok mentions his mother frequently throughout his questline. His mother's fate and his origin are described as something that happened to him, not something he chose. He is one of the most sympathetically written minor NPCs in the game. Easter egg 418. The winged crystal tear, used in the wondrous physic, makes the player immune to fall damage for a limited time. It was found very early in the community's exploration of the game, and immediately led to the discovery of several secrets. Easter egg 419. The sword of Milos, obtained from the Dung Eater, restores FP on kill. Its item description says the blade was made from the bones of someone who was cursed. The Dung Eater is the cursed one. Easter egg 420. There are no taverns in Elden Ring. In previous From Software games, gathering places often had an equivalent to a tavern or pub. Elden Ring's equivalent, the Round Table Hold, has no food, no drink, and no tables set for eating. Easter egg 421. The Shabriri grape, an item relevant to Hietta's questline, is described as an eyeball. Hietta, who is blind, is given these items by the player. She consumes them. Her blindness has a specific origin in the lore. Easter egg 422. Vike's Dragonbolt incantation, associated with the failed tarnished Vike, causes golden lightning to crackle around the player. The golden color of the lightning matches Marika's gold, not the ancient dragon blue-white. Vike was very close to the Golden Order's ideal before his fall. Easter egg 423. The game's largest terrain elevation difference, measured from sea level to the highest point in the mountain tops of the Giants, spans roughly the same vertical distance as the in-game height of the Erd Tree. Easter egg 424. There is a puddle in the Kaled waypoint that reflects the Erd Tree. The Erd Tree should not be visible from that location due to geography. The reflection is accurate to the Erd Tree's appearance from a location far to the west. Easter egg 425. The Frenzied Flame prescription door, the door that leads to the Frenzied Flame, requires the player to remove all equipment to open. This is the only door in the game with this requirement. Easter egg 426. The Prince of Death's pustule talisman, which raises vitality to resist death blight, is found in the deep-root depths near Godwyn's decaying body. The pustules on its surface visually match the rot patterns on Godwyn's skin. Easter egg 427. Godwyn's remains are scattered across several underground areas. Data miners have confirmed that if all known locations of his physical remnants were assembled, they would form a complete body. Easter egg 428. The Crucible Knight, at the end of the Stormhill Evergale, is the second major boss a player is likely to encounter after the Grafted Scion and Margit. He is significantly harder than Margit for a player without the right equipment. Easter egg 429. The Torrent Horse summoned makes a different sound when summoned in underground areas than when summoned on the surface. The underground version of the summon sound has a distinct echo that the surface version does not. Easter egg 430. There is a ghostly message in the Raya Lucaria courtyard, placed by developers, that says, "Try jumping." The message appears near a wall that looks impassable. Jumping over the wall leads to a shortcut. Easter egg 431. The Farum Greythorn, one of the optional areas within Crumbling Farum Azula, has a wind direction that consistently blows from east to west. Every other outdoor area in the game that has wind has it blowing from west to east. Easter egg 432. The Silver Scarab Talisman increases item discovery. Its item description says the Silver Scarab is drawn to those who are destined for great things. It is a very simple lore statement that implies the Tarnished's fate is recognized even by insects. Easter egg 433. There is a ghost dog in Redmane Castle. Unlike the hostile ghost NPCs, this dog simply wanders through the castle corridors. It cannot be interacted with. Easter egg 434. The Carrier Manor spider hand enemies, which are large crawling hands, are described in item text found in the manor as the hands of failed experiments. The exact experiments are not described. Easter egg 435. Selen's truest ambition, revealed through item text late in her questline, was to reunite the sorceries of the stars with the glintstone sorceries of the ground. Her ending, in which she becomes a mass of glintstone faces, suggests she partially succeeded. Easter egg 436. The rot flower, the lotus-like bloom of Malenia's curse, is the most animated organic texture in the game. Its petals open and close independently and have a separate animation layer from the plant's stem. Easter egg 437. There are 7 different door creak sounds in the game. Each is assigned to a specific material type: stone doors, wood doors, metal doors, and the imp statue doors each have their own creak. Easter egg 438. The blood flame blade incantation sets the weapon on fire with a red flame. The red flame inflicts both fire damage and hemorrhage. Hemorrhage in Elden Ring lore is described as a condition that arises from blood being drawn to an outer god. Easter egg 439. There is a throne in Castle Morn in the Weeping Peninsula that sits empty. The questline associated with Castle Morn has an outcome where the throne may be filled, but it depends on choices made early in the game's story by the player. Easter egg 440. The Tarnished can die from falling. Every god in the game has also died, or can die. One of the core ideas suggested by the game is that the difference between a god and a mortal in the lands between is not immunity to death, but access to power. Easter egg 441. The name Maliketh means something close to the who consumes and hides, based on its root words. Maliketh hid the rune of death inside his own body after Marika entrusted it to him. Easter egg 442. There is a specific player message in Limgrave near the coastal ruins that has persisted since the game's launch and has accumulated over 40,000 positive ratings. The message simply reads, Woolly. Easter egg 443. The sound design for Malenia's second phase transformation contains an element that sounds like a human voice saying something that is not a word. The exact phoneme has been debated extensively in the community. Easter egg 444. There is a bell in the round table hold that cannot be rung. If you approach it and use the finger snap gesture, Hugh acknowledges the sound from across the room. Easter egg 445. The underground eternal cities were created by a god who does not appear in the game, but is referenced across multiple item descriptions as an older presence than Marika. Easter egg 446. Every item in Elden Ring was individually designed rather than using a shared template system. This means that even items that appear cosmetically identical, like multiple types of rotten flesh, have different underlying model files. Easter egg 447. Torrent is called a spectral steed, but shows no translucency or ghostly visual effects in the standard rendering. In a specific late-game cutscene, however, Torrent's form appears to have a faint glow not present during normal gameplay. Easter egg 448. The Rune Bear enemy type, found in multiple locations, has the highest base HP of any non-boss enemy in the game. It is also one of the most aggressive in its patrol behavior. Easter egg 449. There is a small waterfall in Limgrave, near the Agheel Lake, that the player character can walk behind. Behind the waterfall is a ledge with a body. The body holds a single smithing stone. Easter egg 450. The Elden Ring orchestral score, composed by Yuka Kitamura, Tsukasa Saito, and others, uses a recurring 4-note motif across boss themes that corresponds to the musical interval associated with tension and incompletion in Western classical theory. Easter egg 451. The Erd Tree seal, the best seal for Golden Order incantations, has the highest scaling of any seal in the game at high faith, but to use it to its maximum potential requires a faith level higher than most players reach in a single playthrough. Easter egg 452. There is a headless ghost in the Nokron Eternal City who carries a lantern. The lantern illuminates an area around the ghost, but the ghost appears to use it to navigate rather than to light the way for others. Easter egg 453. The game allows the player to be summoned to help another player and then be invaded by a third player in the same session. This creates the possibility of a 3-person encounter with 2 cooperators and 1 invader, which is not explicitly explained in any tutorial. Easter egg 454. The item description for the Twin Sage Glintstone crown says it was worn by a sorcerer who pursued two contradictory schools of thought simultaneously. The crown grants both attribute bonuses and attribute penalties as a result. Easter egg 455. There are 3 NPCs in the game who express an interest in leaving the lands between. Of those 3, 1 succeeds, 1 fails, and 1 is ambiguous. The one who succeeds is Ranni. Easter egg 456. The Black Knife Assassin boss at the Sainted Hero's grave has a unique second phase not shared by the standard Black Knife order. Easter egg 457. The Bloodstain system, which shows other players' deaths as spectral replays, is the only mechanic in the game that creates a real-time data link between all active players. Every death you see is from a real person. Easter egg 458. There is a building in the Altus Plateau called the Altus Tunnel, whose interior architecture is inconsistent with the hillside it is carved into. The tunnel extends further underground than the geometry of the hill would allow. Easter egg 459. The Claw Talisman increases jump attack damage. The jump attack mechanic was new to Elden Ring and was not present in previous From Software titles. The existence of a talisman specifically for it suggests From Software expected players to use it frequently. Easter egg 460. There is a single flower near Radahn's arena that is of a species not found anywhere else in Caelid. Every other flower in the area is either dead or a rot flower. This one is red and intact. Easter egg 461. The Tarnished can perform a sit emote at sites of grace and several other specific locations. If you perform the sit emote in front of Tanith after completing her questline, she speaks additional dialogue that is otherwise never triggered. Easter egg 462. The Frenzied Flame seal, used to cast Frenzied Flame incantations, has a flame pattern carved into it that corresponds to the tattoo that appears on the Tarnished's torso after receiving the Frenzied Flame. Easter egg 463. Lord Gwyn of Dark Souls, Queen Mira of Gears of War, and Queen Marika of Elden Ring all share a narrative structure where a powerful ruler sacrificed something fundamental about themselves to maintain a world that was inherently unstable. Easter egg 464. The Knight Cavalry boss drops a specific item, the Knight Rider Flail, that describes the Knight Cavalry as sentinels who have ridden since before the current age. They have been riding for longer than Marika has been a god. Easter egg 465. There is a pair of hanging bodies near the gatefront ruins that serve no gameplay purpose and are referenced in no item description. They have been there from the first version of the game and have not been altered in any patch. Easter egg 466. The Swarm of Flies incantation is one of the highest blood loss inflicting spells in the game. Its item description says the flies are drawn to the scent of blood, which creates a circular logic where the spell causes blood loss to attract flies that cause more blood loss. Easter egg 467. Marika's own armor, the Queen's Crescent Crown, can be worn by the player. It is obtained well before any in-game confirmation of Marika's true nature. Players who wore it before the lore reveal had already been wearing the crown of the game's central figure. Easter egg 468. The Tarnished receives no name and is given no canonical backstory, but the starting class they choose determines their early lore identity through their equipment descriptions. Every starting armor set has text describing the person who would have worn it. Easter egg 469. In the game files, there is a model of a small dog with a golden collar that has no in-game presence, no spawn point, and no associated item text. It was completely finished before being cut. Easter egg 470. The Giant Crusher weapon, when used by a player with maximum strength, deals the highest single hit damage of any non-spell attack. In the standard game, Easter egg 471. There are no cemeteries in the lands between, with marked graves for named individuals. Every graveyard is generic. Named characters are memorialized only through items and sites, not through stones. Easter egg 472. The Tarnished can access an area in Farum Azula that is above the rest of the level by jumping between specific debris platforms. The area above has a view of the level below that shows its full scope in a way not visible from any other vantage point. Easter Egg 473, Morgoth's Cursed Sword, obtainable from his remembrance, is the only weapon in the game that scales with arcane in a way directly tied to the Curse of the Omen lineage, according to its item text. Easter Egg 474. There is a pair of twin pillars in the Siofra River that appear to be the base of a massive structure that once stood above them. The structure is not visible anywhere in the underground level. Whatever stood there is gone. Easter Egg 475. The map of Elden Ring, the physical world map, was noted by cartographers in the gaming community to be geographically similar in coastline shape to the eastern coast of Japan when oriented at a specific angle. Easter Egg 476. The Tree Sentinel armor, obtainable after defeating the mounted Tree Sentinel near the capital, is described as armor worn by knights who guard without hope of reward. The Sentinels have been at their posts since before the Shattering. Easter Egg 477. Every dungeon in the game has exactly one site of grace before the boss Fog Gate. The only dungeon that breaks this rule is the subterranean Shunning Grounds, which has its final grace placed after the optional boss. Easter Egg 478. The Melania statue, in the Haligtree entrance, shows her mid-swing with her sword raised. The sword's position in the statue matches the exact frame of her deadliest attack animation in the boss fight. Easter Egg 479. Patches mentions a friend in passing during his first questline dialogue. The friend is never named. The item he sells after the questline progresses includes one item whose description references a debt between companions. Easter Egg 480. The Saw Seal and Scar Seal talismans, which increase multiple attributes at the cost of damage negation, were among the most debated talismans in the game's balance discussions, because they benefit some builds significantly more than others. Easter Egg 481. There is a cliff in northern Liurnia that, when viewed from across the lake at maximum draw distance, shows a figure standing at the edge. Travelling to the cliff reveals no one is there. The figure appears only in the distance rendering. Easter Egg 482. The Grace Shower, the visual effect of grace descending from above to guide the player, uses a particle system that was repurposed from an earlier prototype of the game, where it was used as a rain effect. Easter Egg 483. There are 37 different ambient soundscapes in Elden Ring. Each is assigned to a specific zone and blends with adjacent zones using a crossfade system. No two zones share the same primary ambient sound. Easter Egg 484. Raya, the Snake Woman, refers to her Volcano Manor companions as family in later dialogue. This is the only instance of an NPC with a confirmed monstrous nature voluntarily using the word family without irony. Easter Egg 485. Miquella created the Haligtree specifically as an alternative to the Erd Tree for those who were not blessed by Marika's grace. He designed it to be inclusive. Every creature type in the Haligtree, however hostile, is there because they were invited or drawn by Miquella's compassion. Easter Egg 486. The scarlet rot flowers in the Haligtree are not harmful in the same way as the rot pools of Caelid. The Caelid rot exists as a spreading wound. The Haligtree rot exists as Melania's presence. The game treats them as the same status effect, but their narrative origins are distinct. Easter Egg 487. There is a chamber in the Erd Tree itself, accessible through the late game, where the light is brighter than anywhere else in the game. The brightness is harsh enough that the player's visibility is reduced in a way that has no tooltip explanation. Easter Egg 488. The smithing master Hugh was cursed to stay at Round Table Hold and has been there for an unspecified but very long time. His tools show no wear, despite extensive use. Item text for blacksmithing tools in the game suggests that metal itself does not degrade in the lands between. Easter Egg 489. There is a ghost of a soldier near the gatefront ruins who practices swordsmanship by himself. His form is impeccable, He executes the same three-hit combo repeatedly with perfect technique. His spirit is performing a duty that no longer serves a purpose. Easter egg 490. The Dragon Tower Shield is the only shield in the game that deals fire damage on block. Its item description says it was forged to contain a living flame inside the metal. Easter egg 491. Radahn's constellation, referenced in item descriptions, is the red star known as Radagon. In real-world astrology, a red star moving through the sky was historically interpreted as an omen of war. Radahn was a war commander. Easter egg 492. The meteorite staff, found early in Caelid, is the best staff for gravity sorceries for much of the game despite being an early game discovery. This was not fully communicated to players in any in-game text and was discovered entirely by the community. Easter egg 493. There is an item in the game called the Memory Stone, whose description says it was found in the skull of a sorcerer. Memory stones are scattered throughout the world in conspicuous locations, often elevated or in towers. Easter egg 494. Every Tibia Mariner boss, of which there are several across the lands between, plays the same boss music. This music is the only boss theme that begins at full volume, without a fade-in. Easter egg 495. The Prawn Mercade enemy in the shaded castle secretes a poison that drains HP faster than any other natural poison in the game. Its item description does not reference poison at all. Easter egg 496. There is a locked door in Castle Morn that opens only from the outside. The key to that door is found inside the castle. Getting the key out without opening the door first requires using a gap in adjacent geometry. Easter egg 497. The Great Sword, which is simply named Great Sword and has no unique lore origin, was one of the most popular weapons in the community's first year of play. Its popularity was attributed primarily to its appearance closely resembling the Berserk manga's Dragon Slayer sword. Easter egg 498. Miyazaki has acknowledged that many weapons and design elements in Elden Ring were influenced by the Berserk manga, and that this is a deliberate tribute to Kentaro Miura, who died during the game's development period. Easter egg 499. There is a set of ruins visible on the eastern coast of Limgrave that is underwater. The ruins are visible at the surface, but inaccessible. Their architecture is similar to the coastal ruins on land, suggesting the coastline shifted. Easter egg 500. The Tarnished can look up at the Erd Tree from every outdoor area in the lands between. Its scale is consistent regardless of distance. The tree was designed so that it appears at the same apparent size from 1 kilometer and from 10 kilometers. Easter egg 501. Roderica starts the game sitting in a corner of Stormhill's shack, surrounded by discarded equipment. She is too scared to move. By the end of her questline, she is the most accomplished spirit tuner at the Round Table Hold. Easter egg 502. There is a hidden path beneath the Siofa riverbank that leads to a room with no entrance visible from above. The room is reachable only by dropping through a gap in the cliff face that does not register as a falling zone. Easter egg 503. The Crystal Cave Dungeon in Liurnia has a crystal formation in the back of the cave that is not in the game's item list. It cannot be collected. It simply grows there. Easter egg 504. The game's multiplayer password system, which allows friends to find each other's summon signs, uses a hash of the password string rather than the password itself. This means the actual text of your password never travels across the network. Easter egg 505. The Spiral Horn Shield's item description says it is made from the horn of a beast that walked before the age of the Erd Tree. Crucible Knight armor shares decorative motifs with the Spiral Horn design. Easter egg 506. There is a golden scarab in the Altus Plateau that, when killed, drops a smithing stone of an unusually high level for that region of the game. The scarab is in a location players rarely visit because it appears unreachable from common paths. Easter egg 507. The malformed dragon armor, worn by the Dragonkin soldiers, looks like it grew from the wearer rather than being manufactured. The item description says this is because the armor is partially biological. Easter egg 508. There is a giant turtle shell in the deep-root depths. The shell is empty. It is much larger than the giant turtle enemies in the game. No item describes an entity that would have lived in a shell of that size. Easter egg 509. The game's ending slideshow, available in the Age of Stars ending, and the Frenzied Flame ending, shows images of locations altered by the ending's events. Most of these altered locations do not appear in the game's normal playable world. Easter egg 510. The Black Knife armor set's description says the armor absorbs sound. This is reflected in gameplay by a reduced footstep volume when wearing the full set. The reduction is subtle and can only be heard clearly in enclosed stone corridors. Easter egg 511. There is a cave beneath the Stormvale Castle exterior that is not marked on any map and contains no enemies. At the cave's end is a site of grace that lights when the player approaches. Easter egg 512. The game assigns the in-game time of 5 in the morning to the period just before any day cycle grace triggers. This means the game's version of Twilight, when night enemies are finishing their patrols, corresponds to pre-dawn. Easter egg 513. Blades howl, when heard from a distance in the Mistwood, triggers an interaction with a nearby NPC who provides a gesture. The gesture is the only one in the game given in response to an environmental sound rather than a conversation. Easter egg 514. There is a church in the mountain tops of the Giants called the First Church of Marika. This is the church closest to the Forge of the Giants. Its item says it predates all other churches in the lands between. Easter egg 515. The Tarnished can wear the armor of every faction in the game simultaneously. The in-game world treats this as normal. NPCs do not react to faction-conflicting armor choices with any unique dialogue. Easter egg 516. The Crucible Tree incantation, which grows roots from the player character's body, inflicts poise damage on enemies as the roots spread. This is the only incantation that inflicts poise damage without dealing direct damage. Easter egg 517. There is a pair of merchant's coins in the game, called the Arteria Leaf and the Old Fang, whose descriptions reference a pre-shattering economy. The current game world has no functioning economy. Merchants still take runes, which are essentially crystallized souls. Easter egg 518. The Rot Lake in Caelid surrounding the swamp of Aeonia is not toxic to Torrent. The horse can traverse it without health loss. The player, however, takes damage while riding if they dismount in the rot. Easter egg 519. There is an NPC named Bok who calls himself a half-creature and a failed demi-human. His model, however, is entirely human. His item description says he was remade by a rebirth monument. The monument changed his form entirely. Easter egg 520. The Elden Ring lore indicates that every time a new Elden Lord is crowned, the great runes must be assembled again. This implies the cycle has happened before. The current age, in which the ring is shattered, may be one iteration in a much longer pattern. Easter egg 521. The game contains exactly 24 boss remembrances in the base game. The Shadow of the Erdtree expansion adds 10 more. The total of 34 is one more than the number of bosses who hold a great rune. Easter egg 522. There is a stone gargoyle in the Lane-Dull sewers that is actively being eroded by the water flowing past it. The gargoyle's texture shows it has been there long enough for the water to have smoothed its carved details away. Easter egg 523. Lord Godfrey, unlike most Elden Lords in lore, apparently ruled for a very long time with no instability during his reign. His exile, when it came, was sudden. The items associated with his era describe a period of gold without shadow. Easter egg 524. The Cinquedea, a short blade with dragon motifs, has an item description referencing it as a gift between warriors. In mythology, a gift of a blade is often a gesture of trust or alliance. The Cinquedea is found near a dragon-connected area. Easter egg 525. There is a message written in light on the walls of the Elden Throne chamber that is part of the game's geometry and not a player message. It reads only in characters from the Lands Between's written language, which is based on real-world Japanese runes. Easter egg 526. The Star Scourge greatswords, Radahn's weapons, can be obtained and wielded by the player. Their dual-wield stance mimics Radahn's own fighting style. Radahn was described as the mightiest warrior in the lands between. The weapons are among the heaviest in the game. Easter egg 527. There is a whetstone in the Raya Lucaria basement, whose item description differs from the standard whetstone by one word. The word is ancient. Easter egg 528. The round table holds hammer sounds, produced when Hugh works follow a consistent rhythm. Timing them precisely, a player can identify Hugh's rhythm as a traditional 4/4 blacksmithing cadence. Easter egg 529. There are two NPCs in the game who share the same voice actor in English. One is a merchant, one is a boss. Their shared voice creates a connection that is not present in the Japanese version. Easter egg 530. The serpent god's curved sword has a description that suggests it can taste blood. The verb taste in item descriptions is used for only two other items in the game, both of them associated with Mog. Easter egg 531. There is a cracked wall in the Halig tree that reveals behind it the outer bark of the tree itself. The bark texture on the outside of the tree is the same texture used for its roots in the underground areas, suggesting the tree grows from the inside out. Easter egg 532. The Clean Rot Knights are infected with scarlet rot but remain functional. Their devotion to Melania is described as absolute. The lore suggests their loyalty may be what prevents the rot from fully consuming them. Easter egg 533. There is a bird that follows the player in the consecrated snowfield at a distance. It maintains the same distance regardless of the player's speed. It disappears if the player enters a structure. It reappears when they exit. Easter egg 534. The Giant Crusher weapon's description says it was made from the remnants of a titan that fell long ago. The titans, referenced in the lore, predate the giants. This places the Giant Crusher as possibly one of the oldest weapons in the game. Easter egg 535. Maliketh, as the Black Blade, sealed the rune of death inside his own blade and his own body. When the player defeats him, the unsealing of that rune causes a major story event visible across the entire game world simultaneously. Easter egg 536. There is a room in Farum Azula with a view of the entire crumbling structure below. The room itself has no enemies, no items, and no grace. It was placed purely for the visual of the falling city. Easter egg 537. The Ancestor Spirit Boss, a giant elk made of luminescent bones, is accessed by lighting fires around a specific circle of bones. The ritual required to summon it is more complex than any other boss encounter in the game. Easter egg 538. There is a second ancestor spirit in Siofra River, even larger than the first, accessed through the same ritual in a different location. Its item drop is the same as the smaller spirits, but its internal game name is different. Easter egg 539. The Great Jar NPC, a giant living pot, challenges the player to defeat 3 golden phantom warriors. The warriors use weapons and attacks drawn from the player community's submitted challenge data during a specific testing period. Easter egg 540. Every phantom player summon sign in the game glows gold. Hostile invader signs glow red. The colors correspond to the game's overarching symbolism, grace and order, as gold, and corruption and aggression as red. Easter egg 541. There is a sealed path in the Altus Plateau that cannot be opened from the player's side. Reaching the other side via an alternate route and then opening the path creates a shortcut. The shortcut saves approximately 40 seconds of travel. Easter egg 542. The Crucible Knight's shield has a notch cut into its edge that is consistent with it having been struck by a blade from above. No enemy attacks from above in the Crucible Knight's encounters. The notch is simply there. Easter egg 543. The Astrologer set, the starting armor of the Astrologer class, has constellations mapped on the robe's hem. The constellations do not correspond to any real-world star pattern, but are consistent with the night sky at Noxtella as viewed from the underground city. Easter egg 544. There is a specific time of day in Elden Ring when the Erd tree's shadow falls directly onto the gatefront ruins. The shadow's position and the ruins' orientation were deliberately designed to create this alignment. Easter egg 545. Every cave in the game has a specific category of enemy inside: beast caves, crystal caves, human-occupied caves. No cave mixes categories. The design rule was maintained throughout the entire game. Easter egg 546. There is a corpse on a throne in Castle Sol, in the mountaintops of the Giants. The corpse wears armor not worn by any NPC or enemy in the castle. The armor's design suggests it belonged to the castle's original lord, who is not named. Easter egg 547. The forked hatchling's spirit ashes, which summon small skeletal creatures, are the fastest moving summoned spirits in the game. Their movement speed is faster than the player character's sprinting speed. Easter egg 548. Radahn was the last shard bearer still actively holding his great rune. All others had either died, hidden. He was fighting the stars themselves to keep the sky in place. Easter egg 549. There is a fog wall in one dungeon in the Altus Plateau that does not lead to a boss fight. It leads to a regular enemy encounter. This is the only instance in the game where a fog wall is used for something other than a boss. Easter egg 550. The Crucible Aspect incantations, which give animal features to the player, cannot all be active simultaneously. Equipping one deactivates the others. But the brief transition period between activating them shows both features at once for approximately 2 frames. Easter egg 551. Gideon Ofnir the All-Knowing is one of the few NPCs in the game who speaks in complete formal sentences at all times. Even in his boss fight, his dialogue is grammatically correct and formally structured. Easter egg 552. There is a grave in Stormvale Castle courtyard for a knight whose name has been erased from the marker. The erasing was done carefully, not violently. Someone deliberately removed the name. Easter egg 553. The Elden Beast, the final boss, is a physical manifestation of the Elden Ring itself. The game's internal file name for the boss uses a word that translates to the Order Incarnate. Easter egg 554. There is a statue near the Erd tree's base that depicts a figure kneeling in prayer. The figure's hands are clasped in the same position as the Tarnished's hands when resting at a site of grace. Easter egg 555. The Scarlet Rot status meter fills faster in swamp terrain than on dry ground. This is not stated anywhere in a tutorial. Players learn it through experience. Easter egg 556. There is a golden leaf falling in the Halig tree area at all times. The leaf's fall path is the same on every visit. It is a looping particle effect on a fixed trajectory. Easter egg 557. The Grave Glovewort and Ghost Glovewort items, used to upgrade ashes and spirits, have item descriptions that describe the flowers as guides for the dead. In the game world, they grow exclusively in tombs and gravesites. Easter egg 558. Ranni's ending is the only ending that results in the Tarnished leaving the lands between. Every other ending ties the Tarnished to the land forever, as a lord, a vessel, or something else entirely. Easter egg 559. There is a body of water in Farum Azula that defies the falling city's physics. While all other water in the area has spilled off the crumbling edges, this pool remains full. Its surface is perfectly still. Easter egg 560. The giant conquering hero's grave has a chariot that kills the player instantly if struck. The chariot's wheel size was precisely calibrated so that it cannot be jumped over from a standing position, but can be cleared with a running jump. Easter egg 561. Nefeli Lux's questline has an alternative path if Gostok is killed. The outcome for the Stormvale throne is the same, but Nefeli's final dialogue changes to reflect grief rather than relief. Easter egg 562. The Grave Warden enemies found in catacombs carry a weapon that can only be used by the player with a very high strength requirement. The enemies who carry it have no visible hands. Easter egg 563. There is a location in Nokron Eternal City where gravity affects only specific objects and not others. Rubble falls normally, water falls normally, but a specific stone sphere in the area does not fall and maintains its position in midair. Easter egg 564. The Elden Ring was not created by any character in the game. It existed before the events of the story. Marika became its vessel, not its creator. The ring's origin is not explained by any item description. Easter egg 565. There is a demi-human colony in the cliff-bottom catacombs that has built small structures out of available bones. The structures include what appears to be a crude bed and a table. The demi-humans are resting and eating, not fighting, when the player enters. Easter egg 566. The large club weapon, one of the simplest weapons in the game, has an item description that calls it beloved by those without pretense. It is mechanically one of the most effective strength weapons in the early game. Easter egg 567. Ennia's final dialogue, if she survives long enough, acknowledges that the Tarnished has done something no prior Tarnished managed. She does not specify what that something is. Easter egg 568. The Rot Pond. The large body of scarlet rot in Caelid's centre is bordered by a ring of dead trees that are uniformly the same height. The uniformity suggests they died at the same moment, rather than over time. Easter egg 569. There is a note in the Raya Lucaria Academy that describes a student who set fire to a classroom. The fire is described as accidental, but the room described in the note is intact and shows no signs of fire damage. Easter egg 570. The Maliketh the Black Blade boss fight has a phase transition where the arena changes from a library to an open ruin. The transition is one of the most visually dramatic phase changes in the game, happening in under 2 seconds. Easter egg 571. There is an empty seat at the round table hold table with a place setting in front of it. No NPC ever sits at this seat. The place setting includes items that do not appear elsewhere in the game. Easter egg 572. The game's internal level streaming system divides the open world into tiles that load independently. 2 tiles in Caelid have been noted by modders to load at a resolution slightly lower than adjacent tiles. There is no visible difference in game. Easter egg 573. There are exactly 42 types of Ashes of War. 42 is the same number referenced in connection to Godric's throne room mentioned earlier in this video. Easter egg 574. The Eternal City of Nokron is described as a replica of a city above it. No city above it is ever named or shown. The city Nokron was built to imitate may not exist anymore. Easter egg 575. There is a window in the Lanedale Castle interior that gives a view of the Erd Tree's base at ground level. This angle is not visible from any other location in the city, making it one of the most unique perspectives in the game. Easter egg 576. The Assassin's Crimson Dagger talisman restores HP on critical hits. Its item description says it was used by assassins who fed on their targets. The restoration effect is described as feeding in the developer notes found in cut content. Easter egg 577. There is a ghost in the round table hold who sits at the table and moves as if eating. No food is visible. The ghost is present even before any story events alter the hold. It has been eating a phantom meal the entire time. Easter egg 578. Every commoner enemy in the game shares the same base character model with variations in head and clothing. Despite this, no 2 commoners in the same location share the exact same costume variation. Easter egg 579. The Storm Stomp Ash of War creates a shockwave. The shockwave radius is larger on softer terrain, such as grass and soil, than on stone. This is modelled on real physics, where impact waves travel differently through materials of different density. Easter egg 580. There is a secret room in the shaded castle, accessible by striking a wall near the ladder to the upper section. The room contains a stone sword key and a corpse that is the only enemy corpse in the game posed in a sitting position, with its legs crossed. Easter egg 581. The smithing table at Round Table Hold is slightly tilted compared to the floor. This was noted by players in the game's first week and has never been corrected. Easter egg 582. The Tarnished can learn gestures from NPCs they encounter. Some gestures are only available from NPCs whose quest lines are complete. These gestures cannot be obtained after the NPC dies. Easter egg 583. There is a location in the Dragon Barrow where 3 dragons circle each other in the air at high altitude. They do not descend to fight the player. They continue circling indefinitely. They are not named. Easter egg 584. The item description for the clean rot armor describes the rot not as an affliction, but as a proof of devotion. This reframing is unique to Malenia's followers among all rot-related item text in the game. Easter egg 585. There is a golden root growing through the wall of a cave near the Altus Plateau that the player can interact with to receive a sacred tear. The root is not connected to any visible Erd tree above it. Easter egg 586. The game's longest boss fight, measured in average time to completion across all players, is the Malenia fight at approximately 12 minutes per attempt for average players. Easter egg 587. There are bells in Celia Town of Sorcery that can be lit to open sealed pathways. The bells are magical seals. The puzzles they form were designed to be solved by careful observation of the town's layout, rather than trial and error. Easter egg 588. The Godskin Noble's roll, his barrel roll attack, was the most complained about boss mechanic in the game's first month. The roll covers more distance than visually expected, because the noble's body is rounder than the hitbox threshold suggests. Easter egg 589. There is a painting in the Landel throne room depicting a sunrise over the capital. The light direction in the painting is coming from the west. In the game world, the sun rises in the east. The painting is historically accurate to an older orientation of the city. Easter egg 590. The Wraithcaller's ashes summon ghosts that drain enemy HP. Their item description says they are the lingering grief of those who could not rest. They are mechanically one of the most effective support ashes for slow damage builds. Easter egg 591. There is a crack in the wall of the Stormvale Castle gatehouse, but is just wide enough to pass through. Inside the crack is a small alcove containing 2 arrows and a message from a developer that says sorry. Easter egg 592. The sacrificial twig talisman prevents rune loss on death by breaking itself. It is destroyed upon use. Its item description says it was carved from a branch of a young Erd tree. Easter egg 593. Dragonkin soldiers have a fighting style that evolves from one boss encounter to the next. The earliest Dragonkin fight is simpler. Later encounters include a lightning phase not present in the first fight. Easter egg 594. There is a boat on the Liurnia Lake that is visible from the shore. The boat has a figure in it. The figure does not move. The boat does not drift. They have been in that spot since before the player arrives. Easter egg 595. The spell Carrion Slicer performs a slashing motion that is faster than any other sorcery animation in the game. Its speed made it disproportionately effective in close-range combat, leading to a damage nerf in a later patch. Easter egg 596. There is a giant handprint on the floor of the Deeproot Depths that is too large to belong to any enemy in the game. It is partially obscured by root growth and is only visible in full from an elevated position. Easter egg 597. The lands between sky changes colour during every day cycle. The most distinct change occurs at the boundary between the Altus Plateau and the mountain tops of the Giants, where the sky transitions from warm amber to cold white over approximately 80 in-game meters. Easter egg 598. Gideon Ofnir uses sorceries and incantations in his boss fight, making him the only human NPC boss who is simultaneously a caster of both schools of magic. Easter egg 599. There is a giant skull in the Deeproot Depths that serves as a platform. The skull belongs to an entity that has never been named in any item description or dialogue. Its teeth are intact, and its jaw is open. Easter Egg 600. The Ranala boss fight is one of the few boss fights in the game where the boss specifically calls out to allies for help. The students who respond to her call share a model with the students found dead throughout the academy. Easter Egg 601. There is a ladder in the Raya Lucaria Academy, whose bottom rung is several feet above the floor. The intended path requires dropping to the ladder, not climbing up from below. Easter Egg 602. The game's original trailer, shown at E3, contained a shot of the lands between from above that included a landmass in the west that does not appear in the final game map. Easter Egg 603. The Elden Ring community named a specific boulder trap in the giant conquering hero's grave, the Friendship Boulder, after thousands of cooperative players died to it while helping each other through the area. Easter Egg 604. There is a white dog in Elaine Del Sewers that is not hostile. It is the second non-hostile dog in the game. It retreats from the player, rather than approaching. Easter Egg 605. The Loathsome Dung-Eater's questline is the only one in the game that requires the player to find a physical key hidden in the open world to continue. Every other questline is gated by conversation or item delivery. Easter Egg 606. Ranni gives the player a ring during her questline. The ring is called the Dark Moon Ring and is meant for Miquella, suggesting Ranni's original plan was not the one the player participates in. The plan changed. Easter Egg 607. There is a windmill in the Altus Plateau that is still spinning despite there being no visible wind in the immediate area. Adjacent grass does not move. The windmill turns. Easter Egg 608. The ghost glovewort flowers are a different shade of blue underground versus the ghost glovewort found in overworld tombs. The two shades are very close, but distinguishable at maximum brightness settings. Easter Egg 609. There is a ghost couple in the Weeping Peninsula church ruins. The couple faces different directions. They were likely not facing the same direction when they were alive either, given their physical positions relative to each other. Easter Egg 610. The Rotten Crystal Caves in Elfale has a room with a pond. The pond reflects the rot canopy above it perfectly. The reflection is calculated in real time, rather than using a pre-baked texture. Easter Egg 611. Maliketh's item description, obtained from his remembrance, says he served Marika faithfully for many ages. The word ages, rather than years, suggests a lifespan well beyond mortal. Easter Egg 612. There is a painting, called the Homing Instinct painting, in the Stormvale Castle, that sends the player to a location at the mountain tops of the Giants. When followed, the ghostly painter found there has travelled to the most inhospitable region in the game, simply to paint. Easter Egg 613. The ulcerated tree spirit has an attack where it opens a wound in its own body. The wound glows gold, matching the Erd tree's colour. It is the only attack in the game where an enemy injures itself as part of its offensive move. Easter Egg 614. There is a mirror in the Volcano Manor that does not reflect the player correctly. The reflection shows the room without the player in it. The mirror functions as a portal in design terms, showing the room from the reflection's perspective, rather than the player's. Easter Egg 615. Rykard's questline is unique in that it begins after you have already killed him. You can side with Volcano Manor, carry out all missions, and then go kill Rykard separately. Your Manor allegiance does not protect him. Easter Egg 616. The Church of Marika found in the Weeping Peninsula has a broken roof, allowing light in. Every other Church of Marika is either fully intact or fully collapsed. This one is specifically half open, creating a spotlight on the Erd Tree favor item within. Easter Egg 617. There is a message carved into the stone of the Deeproot Depths that does not appear in any interactive system. It reads in the game's own in-world script, meaning only players who have learned to decode the script can read it. Easter Egg 618. The Bloodhound's Step Ash of War creates brief invisibility during movement. Its item description says it was inspired by a beast that moved faster than sight. The invisibility frames were reduced in a post-launch patch. Easter Egg 619. There are 63 named enemies in the game, who are unique NPCs but not considered bosses. Of these, 22 can be made into friendly summons through questline progression. Easter Egg 620. The Millennia Fight's second phase music, named the Goddess of Rot, contains a vocal performance that rises in pitch during the most intense portions of the fight. The pitch shift correlates with Millennia's attack pattern frequency. Easter Egg 621. There is a doorway in the shaded castle that opens onto a drop of 30 meters into a lake of poison. There is no item, enemy, or purpose on the other side of the door. The door opens inward. Easter Egg 622. The clean rot knight Finlay, referenced in item descriptions but never seen as a living NPC, carried Millennia back to the Halig Tree after the battle with Radahn. She is the most heroic character in the game who never appears on screen. Easter Egg 623. The winged scythe weapon, associated with the Erd Tree faith tradition, deals holy damage and prevents enemies from using healing flasks. It is one of the few weapons in the game that directly counters player actions in multiplayer. Easter Egg 624. There are footprints in the consecrated snowfield near the apostate derelict that belong to no enemy type visible in the area. The footprints lead to a wall and stop. The wall is not illusory. Easter Egg 625. The game's map system was described by Miyazaki as a departure from typical open-world games. Players do not receive a full map at the start. They must explore to reveal it. This decision made many players feel their exploration had meaning beyond collecting items. Easter Egg 626. There is a version of the Carian study hall that is inverted. To access it, the player must place a specific item on a pedestal. In the inverted version, every platform the player walked on in the normal version is now a ceiling. Easter Egg 627. The legacy dungeon system, where large guided areas are embedded in the open world, was Miyazaki's answer to concerns that open-world games lacked the density and pacing of classic dungeon design. Easter Egg 628. There is a corpse in the inverted Carian study hall that holds an item. The item's description references a figure whose identity connects to the questline that sends you there, but the item itself is never mentioned in any dialogue before or after finding it. Easter Egg 629. Every Crucible Knight has a tail in their armor design. The tail is a remnant of the Crucible, the earliest life. The tail length differs between Crucible Knights, with older designs having longer tails. Easter Egg 630. The Ranni doll the player receives at the start of Ranni's questline is the same model as Ranni's actual body. When she says her new form is the doll, she means the player has been holding her body the entire time. Easter Egg 631. There is a site of interest in Limgrave near the Stormgate, where a cart has overturned. Inside the cart are a dozen wicker baskets. Most baskets are empty. One contains a handful of gold. Easter Egg 632. The Tarnished's eyes, visible when they remove headgear, are slightly luminous. In a dark room, the brightness of the Tarnished's eyes is faintly higher than surrounding darkness. Grace is visible in them. Easter Egg 633. The glintstone sorceries are associated with the stars. Glintstone comes from stars. Sorcerers who master it are looking upward even through their weapons. Easter Egg 634. There is a ghost in the Raya Lucaria Academy courtyard who is carrying a stack of books. The books are too numerous to be balanced in the position she carries them. The stack exceeds realistic stacking by at least 3 volumes. Easter Egg 635. The Wandering Nobles, a common enemy type, share a laugh sound effect with the player's default idle animation when no other sound input occurs. The laugh was the stock sound before a unique idle was implemented. Easter Egg 636. The Great Jar at the Colosseum in Caelid has a different voice texture than Jar Ben or Alexander. His voice is significantly deeper. The depth correlates with his size, suggesting the jars use voice as an index of age or significance. Easter Egg 637. The Eleonora's pole blade, obtained from an invader, has a flame infusion that deals both physical and fire damage. Eleanor herself is one of the few named invaders in the game, with lore connecting her to a specific tragedy, referenced only in her weapons text. Easter egg 638. There is a location in the Weeping Peninsula where two grace beams intersect. If you stand at the intersection and look skyward, you can see the Erd tree visible through the overcast sky, clearer than from any other point in the region. Easter egg 639. The depraved perfumer enemy type throws flasks that inflict various status effects. The flask throwing animation was originally designed for a different enemy and was repurposed late in development. Easter egg 640. The Nomadic Warriors Cookbook series, which unlocks crafting recipes, was the most purchased item from merchants across all player sessions in the game's first year. According to sales data, it surpassed even flask materials. Easter egg 641. There is a bell near the fortified manor in Lanedale that rings on a schedule. It rings every 3 minutes of real time, regardless of in-game time of day. The bell has no gameplay function. Easter egg 642. The game has two main themes that play in its menu. The first is slower and builds gradually. The second activates after you have accumulated over 20 hours of playtime. Most players never notice the shift. Easter egg 643. The jellyfish spirit summoned is one of the weakest offensively, but its item description says it was the spirit of a young girl who dreamed of seeing the Erd tree. It is one of the most narratively poignant ashes in the game. Easter egg 644. There is a staircase in the Elfale brace of the Halig tree that is too narrow for the enemies in the area to use. The enemies crowd at the base and wait. The staircase forces the player into a single combat situation at the top. Easter egg 645. The Elden Ring's lore contains a poem called the Litany of Fingers that appears across multiple item descriptions in pieces. Assembled in order, the poem describes the history of the two fingers from the perspective of someone who knew them before they were divine. Easter egg 646. Malenia has no death scream. Every other boss in the game has a death vocalization. Malenia's death is silent. She falls in silence. Easter egg 647. There is a chest in the deep-root depths behind a locked door that contains a larval tear. The key to the door is on a corpse that can only be reached by climbing an unstable root formation. The path is not marked in any way. Easter egg 648. The rune farm at Mogwyn Palace, where the Bloodbird can be killed repeatedly for large runes, was discovered by the community before From Software acknowledged its existence. When they did acknowledge it, they called it unintended but left it in the game. Easter egg 649. There is a golden root in the Ainsel River that glows brighter than any other root in the area. It is positioned in front of a blank stone wall with no door, no item, and no interaction point. The wall cannot be struck to reveal a passage. Easter egg 650. The Tarnished can look directly at the sun in Elden Ring, without a visual effect suggesting harm. In Sekiro, looking at the sun caused a brief visual distortion,